call was already there. I hadn't touched anything yet. My hands were still resting on my lap, fingers cold from the night air drifting into the old vent above my desk. The room was quiet in that strange, heavy way it gets after midnight. Not silent, just waiting. But the incident log was open, and it wasn't empty. A fresh entry sat at the top of the screen, glowing faintly under the fluorescent light. Incoming 911 call. Domestic disturbance. Female caller whispering. Timestamp. 2:13 and 8 seconds a.m. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 2:12. I blinked once. Then again. The seconds ticked forward, slow and steady, like they always do on nights like this. Nothing rushed. Nothing skipped. Still, the entry didn't change. It didn't disappear. I leaned forward, pulling the keyboard closer. My chair made a soft, dragging sound across the floor. Too loud for the room. No call had come in. No ringing. No alert tone. No line indicator flashing. Just the record, already written. My first thought was simple. System glitch. It happens. Old software, patchy updates, nothing new. I'd seen stranger bugs before. But something about this felt early, like the system had moved ahead of me. I hovered my cursor over the entry, not clicking yet, just looking, reading it again, slower this time. Female caller, whispering, report someone inside house. There was a case number 2, fully assigned. That only happens after a call connects. My chest tightened a little. I reached for my headset, adjusting it over my ears. The cushion pressed gently against my skin, grounding me for a second. Normal routine. Familiar motion. That helped. Then I clicked the entry. The details expanded across the screen. Address field filled. Notes section partially written. But no audio file attached. No recording. Because the call hadn't happened. Not yet. A faint filled the room. Not from the system. Just the building itself settling into the night. Pipes shifting somewhere far off. Air moving through vents. I sat there for a few seconds longer than I should have. Just staring. Then the phone rang. Sharp. Sudden. I flinched harder than I'd like to admit. The line indicator lit up in front of me. Line 3. Standard emergency tone. Nothing unusual. Except I looked at the clock again. 2:13 and 8 seconds a.m. The exact same time as the log. My fingers hesitated over the console. For a second, I didn't move. Something in my stomach twisted, slow and tight. Then training kicked in. I hit accept. 911, what's your emergency? Static answered first. Low and uneven, like wind caught inside a small space. Then a voice. Soft, female, whispering. I think someone's in my house. My grip tightened around the edge of the desk. For a second, I forgot to breathe. The words matched. Exactly. I forced myself to respond, keeping my tone steady. Calm, like always. Ma'am, I need you to stay on the line. Can you tell me your address? There was a pause. Not silence, just a pause filled with shallow breathing. Then she gave it, and it matched too. Every detail from the log, unfolding in real time, like I was reading from a script I hadn't written. My eyes flicked back to the screen. The text sat there unchanged, waiting for me to catch up. Are you alone in the house? I asked. I thought I was, she whispered. The same phrasing, word for word. Something cold slid down my back. I swallowed it down and kept going. Do you hear anything right now? A faint creak came through the line. Not loud, just enough to notice. She sucked in a breath. Footsteps. My cursor hovered over the notes section. The line was already there. Caller hears footsteps upstairs. I didn't type it. I didn't have to. It was already written. I felt a small, creeping pressure behind my eyes. Not pain, just tension building, like something didn't fit inside my head anymore. Ma'am, I'm dispatching officers to your location now, I said. Even that line was already typed in the log. I watched myself speak it, watched the system stay one step ahead. There was another sound on her end, a door shifting, slow, careful, then silence. He's not supposed to be here, she whispered. That part wasn't in the log. Not yet. My fingers froze. I looked back at the screen. The notes section blinked once. Then new text appeared. Caller states, he's not supposed to be here. My throat went dry. I hadn't typed it. I hadn't even moved. The system was updating on its own now, not predicting. Following. No, not following. Leading. Ma'am, listen to me. I said, my voice a little tighter than before. I need you to find a safe place. Can you lock yourself in a room? A pause. Then a soft click. I'm in the bathroom. I checked the log. Already there. Of course it was. My eyes drifted to the time stamp again. 2:13 and 42 seconds a.m. But the clock on the wall read 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 36 seconds. 6 seconds behind. I felt it then. That quiet shift inside me. Something wasn't lagging. Something was ahead. The system wasn't recording the call. It was writing it before it happened. My breathing slowed, not because I was calm, but because I was trying not to panic. I'd handled bad calls before. Screams. Silence. Things no one should hear twice. But this felt different. This felt like I was catching up to something already decided. Ma'am, officers are on the way, I said, even though I hadn't dispatched them yet. The log showed they were already en route. Unit 12, Unit 18, assigned, moving. I hadn't clicked anything. I hear him, she whispered. A soft thud echoed through the line. Closer this time. Then something else. A faint scraping sound, like nails dragging along the surface. I leaned forward, straining to hear. Stay quiet, I said, my voice barely above a whisper now. There was a long pause, long enough that I thought the line had dropped. Then she spoke again. He's outside the door. The log updated. I didn't look at it. I didn't want to, because I already knew what it would say. The scraping got louder, slow, patient, then a soft knock. 3 times. I felt my pulse in my throat. Ma'am, are you safe? I asked. No answer. Just breathing. Then, he knows I called. That line didn't appear on the screen. Not right away. There was a delay. A small one. Just enough to notice. I stared at the empty space where the text should be. Waiting. Then it filled in. Caller states. He knows I called. My hand started to shake. Not much. Just enough to make the cursor tremble on the screen. For the first time, the system felt unsure, like it wasn't perfectly ahead anymore. Just barely. I grabbed onto that feeling. That gap. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it could be wrong. Ma'am, listen carefully. I said, stay on the line with me. Help is almost there. A lie. I still hadn't dispatched anyone, because I didn't know if I was supposed to follow the system or fight it. The knocking stopped. Silence pressed in from both sides of the line. Then the handle moved. Slow, careful. A soft click echoed through my headset. And then, nothing. The line went dead. No disconnect tone. No warning. Just gone. I sat there, frozen, staring at the screen. The log finished updating. Final line. Call terminated. Timestamp 2:14 and 12 seconds a.m. I looked at the clock. 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 5 seconds. 7 seconds behind now. I didn't move, didn't breathe, because something inside me already knew this wasn't the last time I'd see a call before it happened. And next time, I might not be fast enough to catch up. The time was wrong again. Not by much. Just enough that I couldn't ignore it anymore. 2:41 and 19 seconds a.m. That's what the system showed. But the clock on the wall, the one I trusted, said 2:39. Almost 2 minutes behind. I sat there, staring at both of them, letting the seconds pass. Watching the gap hold steady. It didn't drift. It didn't correct itself. It stayed ahead, like it knew where time was going. My fingers rested on the desk, stiff, unsure what to do next. I hadn't reported the last incident. I hadn't told anyone, because I didn't even know how to explain it. Hey, the system is predicting emergencies before they happen. Yeah, that sounds stable. I leaned back slowly, the chair creaking under me. The room felt smaller tonight, the lights a little harsher. Everything looked normal, but it didn't feel normal anymore. A soft beep pulled my attention back to the screen. A new entry, already logged. Incoming 911 call. Vehicle accident. Male caller disoriented. Timestamp 2:43 and 2 seconds a.m. I checked the wall clock again. 2 hours, 40 minutes, and 11 seconds. Almost 3 minutes now. My throat tightened. I didn't touch anything. I just watched. The details began to fill in on their own. Location. Highway route. Incomplete at first, then it corrected itself. Number of vehicles. 1. Condition. Unknown. Notes started forming line by line. Caller states he is trapped. A cold feeling spread through my chest. No ringing yet. No line flashing. Just the system. Writing. I lean closer, my eyes scanning every word as it appeared. Caller reports headlights approaching, but no sound. That wasn't normal. Headlights with no sound? I frowned, reading it again. Then another line. Caller unsure vehicle is moving. The room felt quieter somehow. Even the hum in the walls seemed to fade. I realized I was holding my breath. Then the phone rang. Loud, sharp, too sudden. I grabbed the headset tighter than I meant to. Line 2 lit up. The exact second the system reached the timestamp. 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 2 seconds. My chest tightened again. Same pattern. Same order. Log first. Reality second. I answered. 911, what's your emergency? Heavy breathing filled the line. Fast. Uneven. Then a man's voice shaking. I crashed. I think. I can't get out. His words stumbled over each other. Disoriented. Exactly like the log said. I glanced at the screen. It was still ahead. Still writing. Sir, I need you to stay calm, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Can you tell me where you are? I don't know. I was on the highway. I think I'm off the road now. The cursor blinked. Then text appeared. Caller unsure of exact location. I didn't react. I couldn't. Not anymore. Are you injured? I asked. A pause. Then a soft groan. My leg. I can't feel my leg. The log updated. Possible lower body injury. Everything matched. Everything followed. Except there was something new. A line appeared before he said anything else. Caller reports headlights approaching. I froze. He hadn't said that yet. The system was ahead again. Further this time. Sir, I said quickly, leaning forward, do you see anything around you? Any other vehicles? A pause. Then his breathing changed. Slower. More focused. Yeah. My stomach dropped. Yeah, I see headlights. My eyes stayed locked on the screen. Because I already knew what was coming next. Are they close? I asked. They're getting closer. The log was already updating. Caller notes no engine sound. My grip tightened. Do you hear the vehicle? I asked. No. A long pause. It's just lights. A chill ran through me. The kind that settles deep and doesn't move. Sir, stay on the line with me. I said, help is on the way. That part wasn't true yet, but the system showed units dispatched. Already moving. I hadn't sent them. I hadn't clicked anything. And still, they were on their way. It's not slowing down, he whispered. The words came out softer now. Less panic. More confusion. I swallowed. Can you move? I asked. No. The light from my monitor flickered slightly. Just once. Barely noticeable. But I felt it. Like something shifted. Sir, I need you to stay awake. I said. Keep talking to me. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, it passed me. I blinked. What? The lights, they just went through me. My skin tightened. Every inch of it. What do you mean, through you? I asked, but I already knew what the log would say. I looked. Caller states vehicle passed through without impact. My chest felt heavy, like the air had thickened. There's no sound, he said again. Quieter now. It's gone. The line filled with silence. Not empty. Just still. Then the system added another line. Before he spoke. Caller reports second set of headlights. My heart started to pound. Harder this time. Faster. Sir, I started. But he spoke over me. There's more. His voice cracked. There's more of them. My fingers curled into my palm. The log began updating faster now. Lines stacking one after another. Multiple light sources approaching. No engine noise. Caller unable to move. I felt again. That pressure behind my eyes. But stronger now. Like I was falling behind something that wouldn't slow down. "Sir, listen to me," I said, trying to control. "Close your eyes. Don't look at them." A pause. "I can't," he whispered. "They're inside the car now." My breath caught. "What do you see?" I asked, but I didn't want the answer. I already knew it was coming. The screen stayed blank for a second. Then, nothing appeared. For the first time, the system didn't update. It just waited. "There's no one driving," he said. My stomach dropped. Just the lights. The log stayed empty. No confirmation. No matching line. For a moment, I felt something close to relief. Like maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it could be wrong. Then the line crackled. Sharp. Sudden. He gasped. Loud. Then silence. Complete. The call didn't disconnect. It just stopped. I stared at the screen. Waiting. The cursor blinked. Once. Twice. Then the final line appeared. Call terminated. Timestamp. 2:44 and 51 seconds a.m. I looked at the wall clock. 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 6 seconds. Almost 3 minutes behind now. The gap was growing. Not shrinking. Growing. I leaned back slowly. My hands cold. My mind trying to catch up to something it couldn't see. Every call. Every voice. Already written. Already decided. And the worst part? The system wasn't just logging emergencies anymore. It was learning how they ended, before they even began. I stared at the empty space under the last entry, waiting, because now I knew the next call was probably already there, and I was just too slow to see it yet. The name showed up before it existed. I remember that part clearly. Not the call, not the voice. The name. It sat there on the screen like it had always been there, like it belonged. Incoming 911 call. Cardiac arrest. Male caller. Age 27. Timestamp. 3:12 and 44 seconds a.m. I looked at the clock. 3:09. 3 minutes ahead again. But that wasn't what made my chest tighten. It was a name field. Because it wasn't blank. Caller. Imran Salim. I didn't recognize it at first. It felt like just another name. Another entry in a long night. But something about it stayed with me. Like I'd seen it before. Or maybe like I was about to. I leaned forward slowly, my eyes scanning the rest of the log. Location, apartment complex. 3rd floor. Status, caller conscious. Breathing irregular. Notes were already forming. Caller reports chest pain. Caller alone. Caller states heart feels wrong. I swallowed. There was no ringing yet. No alert. Just the system writing a story that hadn't happened. Or maybe had already happened somewhere else. I rubbed my eyes for a second, trying to shake the feeling. My head felt heavy tonight, like I hadn't slept in days. Maybe I hadn't. I reached for my water bottle, took a small sip. The room stayed quiet. Too quiet. Then a thought slipped in. Soft, uninvited. What if I checked the database? I don't know why I did it. Maybe I want to prove it was fake. Maybe I want to control over something. My fingers moved before I could stop them. I opened the internal record system and typed the name. Imran Salim. Enter. The screen loaded. Then, nothing. No results found. I felt a small release in my chest. Of course. It's not real yet. Just a glitch. Just the system being ahead again. But then, something updated. A small flicker. The database refreshed on its own, and a new entry appeared. Imran Salim, male, age 27. My hand froze on the mouse. The profile wasn't complete. No address yet. No emergency contacts. Just the name. And the age. Exactly like the log. My throat went dry. I hadn't added it. I hadn't touched anything. It just appeared. Slowly, I leaned back in my chair. The air felt colder now. Or maybe it was just me. I looked back at the incident log. The notes had grown longer. Caller struggling to breathe. Caller says he feels pressure increasing. I checked the clock again. 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 32 seconds. Still over 2 minutes behind. I stared at the phone, waiting, because now I knew what came next. The call, the voice, the confirmation. But something felt different this time. He hadn't called yet, and somehow he already existed inside the system. Another line appeared. Caller attempts to stand but collapses. My chest tightened. That hadn't happened yet. Or maybe it had, just not here. I leaned closer, my eyes locked on the screen. "Don't pick up," I whispered to myself. I don't know why I said it. Maybe I thought if I didn't answer, it wouldn't happen. The room stayed still. The seconds moved slowly. Then the phone rang. Sharp, unavoidable. Line 1. I didn't move right away. My fingers hovered above the console. I felt something building inside me. A question I didn't want to answer. If I pick this up, am I helping him? Or just following something that already decided how this ends? The ringing continued. Steady, demanding. I closed my eyes for a second, then answered. 911, what's your emergency? There was a pause, a long one, then a voice. Weak, shaking. I think something's wrong with my heart. I felt it again. That drop in my stomach, like missing a step in the dark. "Sir, I need you to stay calm," I said. "Can you tell me your name?" A breath. Rough. Imran. I looked at the screen. It was already updating. Caller confirms identity. Imran Salim. My grip tightened on the desk. Everything matched. Again. Exactly. "Imran, are you alone?" I asked. "Yeah." His breathing grew heavier, more uneven. I can't catch my breath. The log filled in ahead of him. Caller experiencing shortness of breath. I tried to stay focused, tried to ignore the screen. "Imran, I'm sending help to your location right now. Stay on the line with me." That part felt automatic now. Like I wasn't choosing my words anymore. Like I was just reading them out loud. "Okay," he whispered. There was a soft thud on the line, like something falling. My heart skipped. "Imran, are you still there?" No answer. Just breathing. Shallow. Fading. The log updated. Caller collapses. I leaned forward, urgency rising in my chest. "Imran, I need you to listen to me. Can you move? Can you respond?" Nothing. Then, "I can't feel my hands." His voice was weaker now. Barely there. The system added another line. But this time, I saw it before he said anything. Caller reports numbness spreading. My eyes widened, because he hadn't said that yet. Not out loud. "My hands are gone." My chest tightened. He was catching up to the system now. Or the system was pulling him forward. I didn't know which one was worse. "Imran, stay with me," I said, my voice sharper now. "Help is on the way." But even as I said it, I looked at the dispatch panel. No units assigned. Nothing moving. The system hadn't sent anyone. Not this time. I felt a cold wave pass through me. Why not? Every other call, it had already dispatched help. But not this one. "I think I'm dying," he whispered. The words hit harder than I expected. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet. Honest. I swallowed. "No, you're not," I said quickly. "Stay with me. Keep talking." A pause. Then something strange. "I didn't call you," he said. My breath caught. "What do you mean?" I didn't dial anything. I stared at the screen. The log hadn't updated. For once, it didn't have the answer. "My phone was on the table," he continued. "I just looked at it. And then you were there." A slow chill spread through my arms. If he didn't call, then how did the system know his name? How did it know any of this? "I can't see properly," he whispered. The log stayed still, blank, like it didn't want to write this part. "Imran," focus on my voice, I said. "Stay awake." But I already felt it slipping. The connection, the moment. "It's getting dark." His breathing slowed, then stopped. The line didn't disconnect. It just stayed open, silent, heavy. I waited, hoping, listening. Nothing. Then the system updated, slowly, like it was thinking. Caller unresponsive. Final line. Timestamp 3:13 and 58 seconds a.m. I looked at the clock. 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 52 seconds. 3 minutes behind. Always behind. But that wasn't what stayed with me. It was something else. Something small. Something quiet. I opened the database again. Typed his name. Imran Salim. Enter. The profile was complete now. Address filled. Details added. Status updated. Deceased. I stared at that word for a long time because I realized something I hadn't noticed before. The system didn't just log calls early. It didn't just predict emergencies. It recorded outcomes. Final ones. Before anyone else knew. Before help could arrive. Before anything could change. I leaned back slowly, my chest tight, my mind racing in circles. Because now one question wouldn't leave me alone. If the system already knew who would die, then what happens when it logs someone who hasn't even called yet and hasn't died but will? I looked at the empty space under the last entry, waiting, because deep down, I had a feeling the next name was already there. I just hadn't seen it yet. I stopped trusting the silence. That was the first thing, because the silence wasn't empty anymore. It was waiting. I could feel it every time the room went still, like something was about to appear on the screen, just a few seconds before I noticed it. And it always did. Another entry. Already there. Incoming 911 call. Residential fire, multiple occupants. Timestamp 3:36 and 18 seconds a.m. I didn't even look at the clock this time. I already knew it was behind. Instead, I looked straight at the dispatch panel. No units assigned. No alert sent. Just a log. Sitting there, complete, like the fire had already happened and already ended. My chest felt tight again. Not panic. Not yet. Something worse. Understanding. I leaned forward slowly, reading the notes as they filled in. Caller report smoke-filling hallway. Children inside residence. Caller unable to reach exit. Each line appeared before the phone rang. Before anyone asked for help. Before anything could be done. And that's when it hit me. Not like a shock. Not sudden. Slow. Heavy. Like something settling into place inside my head. The system wasn't helping. It wasn't warning. It was documenting. I swallowed, my mouth dry. Then the phone rang. Line 4. Right on time. I answered. 911, what's your emergency? A woman's voice burst through. Panicked. Loud. There's a fire. There's a fire in my house. Please. I closed my eyes for a second. Same pattern. Same words. Same ending. Because I already knew how this one went. Ma'am. Stay calm. I said, even though my voice didn't feel like mine anymore. What's your address? She gave it. Perfect match. Of course. Are there other people inside? Yes, my kids. Upstairs. I can't get to them. My hand hovered over the dispatch button. Just a click. That's all it would take. Send help. Change something. Anything. But the log didn't show any units dispatched. Not this time. My chest tightened. Why? Why this call? Why not send help? I hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, the system updated. Caller attempts to reach stairs. I froze. Because I hadn't told her to do that yet. Ma'am, listen to me. I said quickly. Stay where you are. Don't go back into the smoke. Too late. I have to get them, she shouted. A loud crash echoed through the line. Something breaking. Something falling. The log updated again. Caller falls. My stomach dropped. I could feel it now. The pattern. Not just prediction. Sequence. Like the system wasn't guessing what would happen. It already knew the order. Ma'am, are you okay? I asked. Coughing answered me. Deep. Harsh. I can't see, there's too much smoke. I looked at the dispatch panel again. Still nothing. No units. No movement. The system hadn't sent help. And I hadn't either. Because something inside me was stopping me. A quiet thought. Cold and steady. It won't matter. That thought didn't feel like mine. Ma'am, I'm sending help right now. I said anyway, forcing my hand to move. I clicked the dispatch button. For the first time, I acted against the system. The screen froze. Just for a second. Then, the assignment failed. A small red message blinked. Dispatch error. My heart skipped. I tried again. Click. Nothing. Same error. The system updated instead. Fire spreads upper floor. My breath caught. Please, please help them, she cried. Her voice was breaking now. Fading. I kept trying. Click. Error. Click. Error. It wouldn't let me. The system wasn't broken. It was stopping me. Children unresponsive. The words appeared slowly, one after another, like they had weight. I stared at them, unable to look away. Ma'am, stay with me, I said, my voice barely holding together. But I could hear it. The change. Her breathing slowing. Her voice weakening. I can't reach them. The line filled with crackling sounds. Fire. Wood. Something collapsing. The system wrote the next line. Before she spoke. Caller unable to continue. My hands went still, because I knew what came next. I had seen it already. She took one last breath. Tell them I tried. Then silence. The line stayed open. But she was gone. The system finished the log. Call terminated. Timestamp. 3:37 and 52 seconds a.m. I didn't look at the clock. I didn't need to. I just sat there, staring at the screen, at the words, at the sequence. And something inside me finally snapped into place. The system doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't miss anything. It doesn't even hesitate. It knows everything before it happens. But it doesn't help. It doesn't stop anything. It just watches, records, finishes the story. I leaned back slowly, my hands cold, my chest tight. And for the first time, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. At the bottom of the log, a small section I had ignored. Status closed. Every call ended the same way. Closed. Final. Like nothing could be changed. Like nothing was meant to be changed. My eyes moved down the screen. Scrolling. Entry after entry. Accidents. Fires. Heart attacks. Disappearances. All of them logged early. All of them completed. All of them closed. None of them prevented. A slow, creeping fear spread through me. Not sharp, not sudden, just steady. Because now I understood something worse than all of it. The system wasn't broken. It was working perfectly. Exactly as it was supposed to. And whatever it was connected to, whatever it was seeing, it didn't care about saving anyone, only recording them. I rubbed my face slowly, trying to ground myself, trying to think. If it knows everything, then why show me? Why let me see it before it happens? That question stayed there, heavy, unanswered, until the screen flickered. Just once, soft, like a blink, then a new entry appeared. No delay, no waiting, already complete. Incoming 911 call, unknown, caller unidentified. Timestamp, 3:42 and 10 seconds a.m. My chest tightened, because this one felt different. There was no name, no location, just one line in the notes, already written. I stared at it, reading it slowly, carefully, because something about it made my hands go cold. Caller recognizes the system. My breath caught. The room felt smaller, closer, like the walls had moved in just a little. I didn't touch anything, didn't move, because for the first time, I didn't feel like I was ahead of the call, or behind it. I felt like I was inside it, waiting for the phone to ring, and wondering if this time the voice on the other end would know my name too. The phone was already ringing when I saw the number. My own number. For a second, I didn't move, didn't breathe, just stare at the screen like it had shifted into something else entirely. Same digits, same line, same identity I'd been using all night, but it was calling me. Line 3 was flashing. Not delayed, not early, right on time. My fingers hovered over the console, that small space between action, and fear stretched longer than it should have. Then I answered, 911, what's your emergency? At first, nothing, just static, soft, close, like someone breathing into a closed space. Then a sound came through, not a voice, a room sound, my room, a faint hum from the vents, the same low electrical buzz from the overhead light. even the chair creaking slightly. I froze, because I wasn't imagining it. I was here in my own dispatch room. Through the line, I slowly looked around me. The room was empty. Same desk, same monitors, same dim glow of screens that never fully sleep. But the sound was exact. Too exact. Then a breath came through the headset. Slow, right behind my ear. I jerked back slightly. "Hello," I said again, my voice lower now. A pause. Then my own voice answered. "Don't hang up." I went still. Not shock, not panic yet. Just disbelief refusing to move. That voice wasn't recorded. It wasn't distorted. It was me. Same tone, same tired edge. Same way I hold the last syllable when I'm unsure. My grip tightened on the edge of the desk. "Who is this?" I asked. A faint crackle. Then silence. The system log flickered. A new entry appeared on the screen. Already filled. Before I could even check the line again. "Incoming 911 call. Self-reported identity. Dispatcher unit. Timestamp. 3:58 and 11 seconds a.m. I looked at the wall clock. 3:55. Almost 3 minutes behind again. But this time, I didn't care about the gap. I only cared about the entry. Because I had never seen that category before. Self-reported identity. That wasn't a classification. That wasn't even possible. I leaned forward slowly. The notes section was already writing itself. Caller confirms familiarity with dispatch environment. My stomach tightened. That was me. I hadn't said a word. But the system was describing me anyway. The phone line crackled again. "You're listening now," the voice said softly. My voice, but wrong. Slightly slower. Slightly heavier. Like it had been spoken after too many nights without sleep. "Who are you?" I asked again, forcing control into my tone. A pause. Then, "You already know." The lights above me flickered once. Just once. But enough to make my eyes snap upward. The hum in the room shifted slightly. Like something in the building had adjusted itself. Then the log updated again. Caller aware of system lag. My breath caught. That line wasn't about me. That line was about what I'd been noticing. The time gap. The delay between clock and system. Someone or something was responding to my thoughts. "This isn't possible," I muttered. The voice on the line responded instantly. "You've said that before." A cold feeling crawled up my spine. Because I hadn't. At least, I didn't remember saying it. I looked at the console again. New lines were forming faster now. Caller exhibits memory overlap. Caller recognizes previous outcomes. My hand slowly moved to the keyboard. Not typing. Just resting there. Waiting. "What do you want?" I asked quietly. A long pause. Then the voice softened. Not threatening. Not loud. Worse. Familiar. "You're close," it said. Close to what? I didn't ask. Because I didn't want the answer. Instead, I checked the dispatch panel again. Still no active units. Still nothing sent. And yet, the log showed something new. Unit assigned, dispatcher, self. My throat went dry. I didn't assign anything. I didn't even know that option existed. I stood up slightly, the chair sliding back a few inches. The sound echoed too loudly in the room. The voice on the line reacted instantly. "Don't stand up," it said. I froze. "Why?" I asked. A pause. Then, "Because you already did." My breath stopped. That didn't make sense. But the system changed again. A timestamp appeared. 3:56 and 42 seconds a.m. Movement detected at console. I looked at the clock. 3 hours, 56 minutes, and 41 seconds. 1 second behind. My pulse started to rise. Slowly. Like my body was realizing something before my mind could catch up. "Stop," I said quietly. Not sure if I was talking to the system. Or the voice. Or myself. The voice responded anyway. "You can't stop it." The monitors flickered again. This time longer. Half a second. Then, a new feed opened automatically. Security camera. Dispatch room. My own seat. Empty. My breath caught. Because I was standing right there. But the camera showed no one. Just an empty chair, still warm-looking under the light, the headset hanging slightly tilted, like someone had just stood up and vanished from the frame. My hands went cold. I looked down at myself. I was still here. I was still breathing, still thinking. But the camera disagreed. The voice came through again, quieter now, closer. "You don't remember answering the call, do you?" I didn't respond, because I didn't know. The log updated again. Faster now, less careful. Caller identity unstable. Subject not fully synchronized. I backed away from the desk slowly. One step, then another. The room felt wrong now, like it was slightly behind itself, or slightly ahead. I couldn't tell. The voice on the line softened again, almost gentle. "You're still early," it said. My eyes narrowed. What does that mean? No answer, just breathing. But this time, it wasn't on the headset. It was behind me. I turned slightly, slow, careful. The dispatch room was empty. No one behind me, but the air felt occupied, like someone had just stepped out of the space I was looking at. The system log froze. For the first time, stopped writing. Then one final line appeared. Slow, deliberate. "Caller will not complete call." My heart dropped. "What? No," I said under my breath. The voice interrupted me. Soft, final. "You already did." The line disconnected. No tone, no warning, just silence. I stood there, frozen. The room didn't move. The screens didn't change. Everything stayed exactly as it was, except the headset on the desk. It was no longer hanging. It was lying flat, like someone had placed it down gently after finishing a call. I stared at it for a long time, because I realized something I didn't want to accept. The call hadn't come from my number. Not really. It came from the moment I would forget I made it, and somewhere in that gap, I had already answered. The system didn't predict me. It was waiting for me to catch up to what I had already done. The clock on the wall ticked forward slowly. 3:57, 3:58, 3:59, and for the first time all night, the system wasn't ahead anymore. It was aligned, perfectly, like it had finally finished sinking me into the timeline. It was already running. My hand slowly reached toward the console again, even though I didn't remember deciding to move. And just before I touched it, the screen blinked. One new entry appeared, already complete. No time-stamp delay. No lag. Just one line. Next call incoming. And beneath it, a number. My own number again. The voice wasn't just copying me anymore. It was predicting me. Before I could finish a thought, it was already spoken. Soft, slightly delayed. Like my own mind was leaking into the line. I stood there, frozen in the dispatch room, staring at the headset on the desk. It wasn't ringing now. It was just open, still connected, still alive. But I wasn't sure who was on the other end anymore. Then it spoke again. "You're looking at the headset." My breath stopped halfway, because I hadn't said anything out loud. Not yet. My lips were still parted, forming the thought, but the voice had already answered it. I slowly leaned closer to the mic. "Stop doing that," I whispered. A pause. Then, "Stop doing what?" Same voice, same tone, but slightly off, like a recording that had been stretched too many times. I felt a chill crawl up my arms, because it wasn't just repeating me. It was lagging behind me by a fraction of a second, like it was living just slightly in my past. I glanced at the monitor. The system log was still open, still running, still recording everything. But now something new had appeared. Audio synchronization unstable. My throat tightened. I didn't like that word. Unstable. It meant something was slipping. Something was not fully connected anymore. I exhaled slowly, trying to ground myself. "Who are you?" I asked again. This time, I waited. No interruptions. No predictions. Just silence. Then, "You already asked me that." The voice said. A small pause. "In 5 seconds." My heart skipped. 5 seconds? That didn't make sense. I looked at the wall clock without thinking. 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 48 seconds. Then the voice continued. and you didn't like the answer. I froze because I hadn't heard any answer yet. But my mind felt like it had, like something had been said inside me already, and I just hadn't caught up to it. The room suddenly felt too tight, too warm. I stepped back from the desk slowly. The chair behind me creaked. Even though I hadn't touched it, the voice reacted instantly. You moved away from the desk. I stopped breathing. That wasn't a guess. That was observation. Where are you? I asked quietly. A pause. Longer this time. Then, closer than before. I looked around the room. Empty. Same walls. Same flickering monitor glow. But now I noticed something small. The ambient sound of the room had changed. The hum of the vents felt uneven, like another layer had been added underneath it. Almost like another room was overlapping this one. My stomach tightened. I grabbed the edge of the desk again, grounding myself. Why are you talking like me? I asked. The voice responded instantly. Because I am you. My grip tightened. No, I said quickly. That's not possible. A pause. Then, that's what you said first. My chest went cold. I hadn't said that. Not out loud. But the words, they felt familiar, like I had thought them earlier. Or maybe like I was about to think them. The system log flickered again. A new line appeared. Voice source mismatch detected. My eyes snapped to it. Finally, something technical. Something explainable. But then another line appeared right under it. Multiple temporal offsets detected in subject. Temporal offsets. Time differences. I swallowed hard. Stop. I said again, louder this time. The voice didn't stop. Instead, it softened, almost gently. You're scared now. I didn't answer, because it was right, and I hated that it knew. I turned slightly, pacing one step away from the console. The floor creaked under my shoes. The voice reacted again immediately. You just took one step away. I stopped, slowly turned my head back toward the desk. The headset sat there, still, but the sound coming through it didn't match the room anymore. It felt closer, like it wasn't traveling through wires, like it was sitting right behind my thoughts. I leaned in again, reluctantly. Tell me what you are, I said. A pause, long enough that I almost believed it disconnected. Then, I am what comes after you answer the call. My skin went cold. What does that mean? I asked. The voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, I heard something else. A faint echo behind it. My own voice, repeating the same question, but slightly ahead, like a recording starting early. What does that mean? My stomach twisted, because I hadn't said it twice. At least, I didn't remember saying it twice. The system log updated again. Audio loop forming. A loop, not a call, not a recording. A loop. The voice spoke again, but now it overlapped itself. You were already inside it. Then, you were already inside it. 2 layers. Same words. Slight delay. Like one version of me was speaking just before the other. I backed away again. Harder this time. The chair hit my leg. I barely felt it, because my focus was somewhere else now. On the headset. On the sound. On the idea that something in this room wasn't just listening anymore. It was repeating me. Ahead of me, the voice softened again. You're trying to leave? I didn't respond. My hand slowly reached for the keyboard instead. Maybe I could reset it. Maybe I could cut the connection. But before I could touch anything, the system froze. Every screen in the room dimmed at the same time, just for a second. Then, a new feed opened automatically. Audio waveform. My voice, displayed in real time. But something was wrong. The waveform wasn't matching what I was saying. It was ahead by a few seconds. I froze because I could see it now. My own voice wasn't being recorded as I spoke. It was being predicted. The voice on the headset returned. Quieter. Closer. You see it now. My throat felt dry. What is this? I whispered. A pause. Then, a conversation you already finished. My heart dropped. I looked at the clock again. 4 a.m. Exactly on the hour. But I hadn't noticed the transition. No tick. No change. Just alignment. The voice continued. You answered the call. My breath caught. No, I said quickly. I didn't. A soft sound came through the headset, like a breath, like laughter trying not to become noise. You always do. The monitors flickered again, this time showing something new, a replay window, my own face, sitting at the desk, answering the call. But I wasn't doing that now. That was earlier, or later. I couldn't tell anymore. The footage showed me speaking into the headset, listening, nodding, slowly, as if I already understood everything being said. My real body stood still in the room, watching it, watching myself. The voice spoke one last time. Soft, final. You don't remember the ending yet. My chest tightened, because that line didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a fact. The screens dimmed again, and the headset on the desk clicked off. Silence filled the room. Heavy, final. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at the dead headset. But the worst part wasn't the silence. It was the realization that stayed behind it. The call had already ended, but I was still hearing it, somewhere in my head, repeating, slightly ahead of my thoughts, waiting for me to catch up. The recording was already playing when I realized I was the one screaming in it. Not live, not now, but me, sitting in that same chair, same headset, same room. But my face looked wrong. Tired in a way I don't remember becoming. On the monitor, the replay window showed me leaning forward, gripping the desk, whispering something I couldn't hear in real time. My stomach dropped, because I wasn't doing any of that now. I was standing, watching myself. And the worst part? The recording had a timestamp. 4:07 and 18 seconds a.m., but the wall clock said 4:03. For minutes behind again. Only this time, I wasn't ahead of it. I was inside it. The replay moved. My recorded self spoke into the headset. I already called. I flinched because I didn't remember saying that. Not yet. Or maybe I hadn't caught up to it. The audio in the replay sharpened. Clearer now. My voice, but broken at the edges. Like something had been dragged through it. I already called. The recording said again. Then a pause. In the replay, I leaned closer, like I was listening to someone I couldn't see. And I answered myself. It was you. My breath stopped. I stepped back from the monitor, slowly, carefully, like the room might react. But nothing changed, except the headset on the desk. It wasn't lit anymore, but I swear I saw it twitch, just slightly, like something inside it had just shifted its position. I swallowed hard. This is a recording, I whispered to myself, but even saying it felt wrong, because the recording was answering back. The replay continued. My recorded self looked at the screen, not at the call, not at the system, at the camera, directly, and I said something I definitely didn't remember learning. You're late. My skin went cold. I shook my head quickly. No, I muttered. That's not possible. The replay kept going. Now my recorded self was breathing heavier, sweating, eyes wide, like I had seen something in that moment that I couldn't unsee, something off-screen, something I wasn't allowed to notice yet. The voice from the replay continued. I already tried to stop it. My throat tightened. Stop what? The system? The calls? The timeline itself? I looked at the live console again. The log was still active, still writing, but slower now, like it was waiting for me to understand something before continuing. A new entry blinked into existence. No delay, no warning, just there. Incoming 911 call, self-event loop confirmed. I frowned. Self-event loop. That wasn't terminology used in any dispatch system I knew. I leaned closer. The notes were already forming underneath. Caller is confirmed future instance of dispatcher unit. My chest went hollow. Future instance. That meant, no, that's not how time works. But the system didn't care what I believed. It kept writing. Caller has experienced full incident cycle. My hands went cold. Full cycle. I looked at the replay again. My recorded self was now standing up in the video. Slowly, just like I was now, except I hadn't sat down. Not in this version. Not yet. I looked at my own hands. They felt real, warm, present, but the screen showed them shaking. Even though I wasn't shaking, at least I didn't think I was. The replay audio shifted, a different tone now, not just me speaking, another layer underneath, like my voice was overlapping itself from a different time. Don't answer it, the recording said. I froze. Answer what? The phone on my desk rang. Sharp, immediate, line 3. I didn't move, because I already knew. I had already answered this. Or I was about to, or I already had. The ring continued. My recorded self in the replay was already answering it. But I hadn't moved yet, not in real time. 2 versions of me existed at once now, one answering, one frozen. The voice from the replay came through clearly. My voice, but exhausted, broken. Don't pick it up. I stared at the phone. It kept ringing, but something felt different this time. The sound wasn't coming from the phone anymore. It was coming from the headset, from the replay, from the room itself. All at once, I slowly reached for the console, but before I could touch anything, the replay spoke again. You already answered it. The phone stopped ringing. Silence dropped hard, heavy. I looked at the monitor. The replay showed me sitting down again, like nothing had happened, like I had already completed the call. In the video, I leaned forward, spoke into the headset, and said something I hadn't heard yet in real life. It's happening again. My stomach twisted. What is happening? I whispered out loud. The replay answered immediately. The part you forgot. My breath caught. The system log flickered violently. New lines appearing too fast to read properly, but one of them stayed long enough to register. Memory synchronization failure detected. My vision blurred for a second, not physically, mentally, like something in my thoughts had been pushed slightly out of place. I grabbed the edge of the desk. Stop, I said under my breath. But nothing stopped. The replay zoomed in. My recorded face filled the screen, and I looked terrified, not like I do now. Not confusion, not fear of the unknown, something worse, recognition, like I had seen the ending already, and couldn't change it. You didn't close the loop, the recording said. I shook my head. No, I didn't start anything. But even as I said it, something inside me resisted the words, like I was arguing with a memory I didn't fully have yet. The replay leaned closer again. My recorded voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. You were supposed to disconnect before the second call. Second call. My eyes snapped at the log. A new entry had already formed. I hadn't seen it appear, but it was there now. Incoming 911 call. Internal echo event. My pulse spiked. Internal echo. That wasn't a call type. That wasn't even language I understood in this system. But the notes were already filling in any way. Caller repeats prior dispatcher interaction. My throat went dry. The replay froze for a second, then resumed. But now, my recorded self was no longer sitting. I was standing, looking directly at something off camera. And I said something I didn't remember ever thinking. You're listening from the wrong side. My breath stopped completely, because that line didn't feel like memory. It felt like warning. The lights in the room flickered again, longer this time. And in that flicker, I saw something impossible. For a split second, there were 2 versions of the room. One where I was standing, and one where I was still sitting. Both real, both active, both waiting. The replay voice returned one last time. Soft, close, almost kind. You already survived this. My hands trembled, because I understood something I didn't want to understand. The system wasn't predicting calls anymore. It was replaying outcomes, and I wasn't the dispatcher catching up to it. I was the version that had already failed. The screen glitched once, then the replay ended. Black screen, silence, but the headset on the desk clicked on again, and from it, my own voice whispered something I hadn't said yet. Don't answer the next one. The phone started ringing again. The address was already on my screen before the call even finished connecting. No emergency details, no voice, just a quiet 911 ping and then silence. and the system still filled it in. Routine welfare check, single residence, no active speech on call. I stared at that line longer than I should have, because welfare checks don't usually start like this. No panic, no background noise, no reason, just a house calling us without saying anything. I exhaled slowly, adjusted my headset. Unit 12, respond. Dispatch said, possible silent distress call. No further info. I keyed the mic copy. My partner in the patrol car didn't speak right away. Just the sound of the engine idling. Then Officer Ray's voice came through. Silent call again? Yeah, I said, third one tonight. A pause, then a low chuckle. People really running out of ways to ask for help. I didn't respond, because something about this one didn't feel like that. It felt empty in a different way, like the call wasn't asking for help, like it was just checking if we still answered. The car rolled through the dark streets, streetlights passing over the windshield in slow, tired flashes. Everything outside looked normal, too normal. Houses with lights off, curtains closed, no movement, but the system kept the address highlighted on my tablet, like it didn't want me to forget where we were going. Anything on the caller? Ray asked. I checked. Nothing. No number. No audio log. Just a timestamp. 3:21 and 9 seconds a.m. and one line underneath it. Call source, unidentified. I frowned. Nothing, I said. It didn't leave details. Ray sighed. Love those. Always fun. But his voice didn't sound fully relaxed. Neither did mine. We turned onto a narrower road. Older houses now. Less light. More space between them. The kind of street where everything feels like it's watching you, but doesn't move. The house came into view slowly. At first, it just looked like another building. 2 floors. Dark windows. Small front yard with an old fence leaning slightly to one side. No lights on inside. No cars outside. No sound. But as we pulled closer, something felt off. Not visually. Not at first. Just quiet in a way that didn't match a lived-in house. Ray parked the car. We both sat there for a second, looking. Doesn't feel right, he said quietly. I nodded once. Yeah, it didn't. We got out. The night air was colder than expected. Sharp, still, no insects, no dogs barking, nothing, just silence stretching too far. Our flashlights clicked on almost at the same time. 2 beams cutting through the dark yard. The grass looked slightly overgrown, like nobody had walked here in a while, or like nobody needed it anymore. We moved toward the front door. Each step sounded too loud, too sharp against everything else. Ray went first. Knocked. Once. Waited. Nothing. Knocked again. Still nothing. I checked my tablet again. The system was still showing the call active. Not closed. Not ended. Still open. That was strange. Silent calls usually time out after a minute or 2. This one had been running for almost 6. Try again, I said. Ray knocked harder this time. Police department, he called out. We received a call from this residence. Are you all right? Silence. Then a faint sound from inside. Not a voice. Something like movement. Slow. Careful. Ray looked at me. I nodded. He reached for the doorknob. It turned. Unlocked. That made both of us pause. He pushed the door open slowly. It creaked. Long. Low. Like the house didn't want it to open. We stepped inside. The air changed immediately. Cooler. Thicker. Not bad. Just still. Like the inside had been waiting longer than the outside. Ray lifted his flashlight. Hello, he called again. No answer. We moved forward slowly. Living room first. Everything looked normal. Couch. Table. TV off. Nothing disturbed. But something about it felt staged. Too neat. Like no one had moved here in a while. But also like nothing had been left behind either. I checked the tablet again. The call was still active, but now the log had changed. I stopped walking. Ray noticed. What? I showed him the screen. His face tightened slightly, because now the system was writing something new. Audio detected inside residence. I looked up, listening. Nothing. Ray lowered his flashlight slightly. You hear anything? He whispered. I shook my head, but the system kept updating. Footstep pattern detected. Second floor. Both of us looked up at the ceiling at the same time. The house stayed silent. Ray raised his voice again. Police, if someone is inside, please respond. Nothing, but the system responded anyway. No verbal response recorded. That line made my skin tighten, because it wasn't waiting for us anymore. It was recording without us. We moved deeper into the house. Kitchen, empty. Clean dishes drying. No food out. No signs of a rushed exit. Everything in place. Two in place. Ray leaned slightly toward me. This feels like a false call, he whispered. I didn't answer right away, because my tablet disagreed. The system had added another line. Caller movement confirmed. Upstairs hallway. I looked up again. Still nothing. No sound. No motion. But the system insisted something was there. We reached the staircase. Old wood. Slight creak when Ray stepped on the first stair. That sound felt too loud in the silence. We started up, one step at a time. Flashlight scanning slowly. Walls close on both sides. The air getting tighter. Then, halfway up, I stopped. Ray turned slightly. What? I pointed. The tablet. Another update. Officers present at location. I frowned. Yeah, that's us, I said, but Ray shook his head. No, look again. I did, and my breath caught, because now the system had changed the label. Officers confirmed. Unit 12 inactive. My hand tightened around the tablet. Inactive? I whispered. Ray's voice dropped. What does that mean? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. We kept moving. Top floor now. Hallways stretched long and dark. Doors on both sides slightly open. All of them. Every single one. Like someone had walked through, checking, but not leaving. Ray pointed forward slowly. One door at the end. Slightly more open than the others. That's where the system was pointing. We moved closer. Step by step. Then I heard it. A faint sound. Not a voice. Not movement. Something like breathing, but delayed. Like it was coming through a wall that didn't fully connect. Ray raised his flashlight higher. We reached the door. He pushed it open. Inside, empty room. No one. Just a bed and a phone on the floor. Screen glowing. Still connected. My stomach dropped because my tablet updated at the same time. Call active source located. I looked at the phone. It was still recording. Still connected to dispatch. Still live. Ray stepped in slowly. Hello? He said again. I stayed at the doorway, watching the phone. The speaker crackled. Then a sound came through. Soft. Familiar. My voice. You're late. Ray turned sharply toward me. What the hell was that? But I didn't answer, because I hadn't spoken. Not this time. The phone on the floor stayed lit, and the system added one final line. Before anything else happened. Welfare check complete. No living subject present. My breath stopped. Ray whispered, No living. What does that mean? But I was already looking at the phone again, because the screen had changed. It now showed a recording of the two of us standing in the doorway, listening to a call that had already ended before we arrived. And in the recording, I was the one holding the phone. Not Ray, not dispatch, me, and I was smiling. The radio didn't sound like a radio anymore. It sounded like the house was breathing through it. At first, it was just static, normal, familiar, that low white noise we hear on every bad call. But then it changed, not louder, not sharper, just wrong, like the static was learning how to speak. We were still inside the hallway when it started. Ray was ahead of me, flashlight cutting through the dark. The phone on the floor was still glowing behind us, still connected. But neither of us wanted to look at it again. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. Ray said into his radio. Welfare check complete, residence appears. The static cut him off. A long burst, then silence, then a voice, but not dispatch. It came through slow, delayed, like it had to crawl through something before reaching us. Unit 12, you're not at the residence. Ray stopped walking. So did I. We looked at each other at the same time. That's dispatch, he said quietly. But I didn't answer, because I knew that voice. It was close. Too close. I keyed my mic. Dispatch. Repeat last transmission. Nothing at first. Just static again. But now the static had shape, like something moving inside it. Then the voice returned. Unit 12 is still en route. My stomach tightened. That doesn't make sense, Ray muttered. We're already here. I looked down at my radio. The light was steady, but the sound coming through wasn't matching anything I was hearing in the house. It was slightly ahead, like it knew what I was going to hear before I heard it. Then the hallway light above us flickered. Just once, a slow blink. And in that blink, the hallway looked different. Same place, same walls, but darker, longer, like it stretched further than it should have. I blinked hard, and it was normal again. Ray didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he did and just didn't want to say it. Dispatch, confirm our status, he said again. Static. Then, you are approaching the location. Ray frowned. We're literally inside it. The radio responded instantly. You are approaching. Not correcting us. Not listening. Just repeating. Like it was reading a script that didn't care what was real. My grip tightened on my flashlight. Something's off. I whispered. Ray nodded slowly. Yeah, no kidding. We moved forward again, deeper into the hallway. But now every step felt heavier, like the floor was slightly resisting us. And the radio kept talking, not responding to us, talking over us. Unit 12 is now unseen. Ray stopped again. Unseen? We're all ready. The static cut him off. Hard. Then a new voice broke through. My voice. Don't turn around. I froze. Ray turned slightly toward me. Did you just say that? I shook my head quickly. No, but the radio repeated it. Don't turn around. The words weren't coming from us anymore. They were coming through us, like the system had stopped distinguishing between input and output. Ray's breathing changed. Slower. Tighter. Okay, he said quietly. That's not normal. We both stood still now, listening, waiting. The radio didn't go silent. It never went silent. It just shifted, like it was adjusting itself to match something unseen. Then, a new transmission. But this one wasn't from dispatch. It was from inside the house. You already saw the phone. Ray's face tightened. That wasn't radio, he said. I nodded, because I knew. It was the same voice from the room downstairs. The phone, the recording, it had followed us up. The radio crackled again. Unit 12 confirmed visual contact. Ray raised the mic slowly. No visual contact. House is clear. Static. Long pause. Then, incorrect. The hallway light flickered again. Longer this time. When it came back, the door at the end of the hall was open wider. We hadn't touched it. We hadn't moved near it. But it was open now. Ray pointed slightly. Did that just... I see it, I said. We moved closer slowly. Every instinct telling me not to. The radio stayed active. Not quiet. Just waiting. Like it was watching us walk. You are entering the final room, it said. Ray stopped again. Final room? What does that mean? I didn't answer. Because I was starting to understand something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't a welfare check anymore. It hadn't been since we arrived. We reached the doorway. Inside was the same bedroom, but it felt different now. Heavier, like the air had been used already. The bed was still there, the phone still on the floor. But now there was something else. A second flashlight. On the bed, already on, pointing directly at us. Ray raised his weapon slightly. We didn't leave that there. I didn't move, because I recognized it. That flashlight, it was mine. The radio suddenly hissed. Louder, sharp, then, Unit 12 has completed observation. Ray looked at me fast. We haven't done anything yet. But the radio didn't care. Observation complete. My heart started to beat harder, because I realized something terrifying. The system wasn't tracking us anymore. It was tracking what we had already done, or what it believed we had already done. Ray stepped into the room first. I followed, slowly. The floor creaked under us. The radio voice shifted again. Quieter now. Closer. You stood here before. I felt my breath catch. Ray turned toward me. Did you hear that? I nodded slowly, because I had. But I did remember standing here before. At least, not like this. The radio continued. You looked at the bed. Ray looked at the bed, then froze, because now there was something new. A second figure, sitting on the edge of it, head down, still, not moving. Ray raised his flashlight slowly. The beam hit it, and my stomach dropped, because it was me, or something that looked like me. Same uniform, same posture, but completely still, like it had been waiting a long time. Ray stepped back immediately. What the hell is that? I couldn't answer, because the radio spoke first. Unit 12 is accounted for. I shook my head quickly. No, that's not me. But even saying it felt uncertain now, because the figure didn't move, didn't react, just sat there, like it had already finished everything it needed to do. The radio crackled harder. You are both present. Ray looked at me. Both. Then, the figure on the bed lifted its head slightly. Not fully, just enough for me to see its face. And my stomach dropped completely, because its eyes were open, and they were already looking at me, like it had been waiting for me to arrive. Ray took another step back. We need to leave. Now. But the radio cut in again. Stronger. Clearer. Final. You already left. Silence hit the room. Not empty. Final. The kind that feels like something has just been decided without you. I looked at Ray. He looked at me. And for a moment, neither of us moved. Because deep down, I think we both realized the same thing. We weren't the ones responding to the call. We were the response. The radio hissed one last time. Soft, almost calm. Welfare check complete. And the figure on the bed slowly stood up. The radio wasn't supposed to carry dead voices, but it did. And they were talking like they were still alive. At first, it was just noise. Heavy static. Thick, like the air itself had turned into sound. We were still in that bedroom when it started, me standing near the door, Ray frozen near the bed, and the thing that looked like me still standing up slowly, like it had been waiting for this exact moment. Then the radio in my hand crackled again. Not the house this time, not the system. Dispatch, but wrong. Unit 12, do you copy? I raised it slowly. Dispatch, Unit 12 is on scene. Requesting immediate clarification on situation. Silence. Then a voice answered, but it wasn't dispatch anymore. It sounded like Officer Miller. I knew Miller, or I used to. He went missing 3 days ago on a call that never got a location. His voice came through the channel, like he was right next to me. You shouldn't be there. Ray looked at me immediately. Who is that? I didn't answer, because I was still trying to convince myself I heard it wrong. I keyed the mic again. Say again. Identify yourself. Static burst. Then Miller's voice again. Closer this time. We already tried leaving that place. My throat tightened. Ray stepped closer. That's not possible. Miller is gone. I couldn't say it, because the radio interrupted us. Not Miller this time. Another voice. Female. Officer Klein. She had been declared missing last week. Don't look at the bed. Ray turned instantly. Too late. We were both already looking. The figure on the bed had moved again, just slightly. Its head now tilted toward us more directly. Not fully alive. Not fully still. Something in between. The radio hissed louder, like multiple channels were opening at once. Then 3 voices overlapped. Miller, Klein, and another one I didn't recognize. All speaking at once through the same line. It repeats. Don't answer the loop. You're inside the rotation. Ray backed up slowly. Turn it off. Shut the radio off. I tried, but the power button didn't respond. The radio stayed active. Not because it was on, because something else was using it now. The voices continued, not talking to each other, talking through us. Unit 12 has entered the return state. My chest tightened. Return state? I whispered. The radio responded instantly. Not a voice. A correction. You're already here. The lights in the room flickered again. And for a second, just a second, I wasn't in the room anymore. I was in a car, sitting in the back seat, blood on my hands, radio screaming in my ear. Ray was driving, but he wasn't alive. His head was slumped forward, and the radio kept repeating the same thing. You didn't leave. I gasped and snapped back. The bedroom slammed back into place. Ray grabbed my shoulder. Hey, you okay? I blinked hard. What was that? He looked shaken now. You spaced out for like 5 seconds. 5 seconds. But it felt like I had lived something else entirely. The radio crackled again, now softer, more organized, like it had decided what it wanted to say. Officer Miller's voice returned, but slower, controlled. You saw the exit version. I froze. Ray looked at me. Exit what? I didn't answer, because I didn't understand it either. But the word stuck in my head. Exit version, like there was more than one outcome, more than one ending. The radio continued. There is no exit from a completed call. Ray stepped closer to me now. We need to leave. Right now. I nodded, but my feet didn't move. Because something in me knew we already had, or we hadn't yet. And that difference didn't matter anymore. The radio suddenly spiked in volume. All voices at once. Missing officers. Dispatch fragments. My own voice. All layered together. Don't return to the hallway. You already reported the scene. It's still happening. You're still inside it, Ray shouted. Enough. He reached for the radio in my hand. But before he could grab it, everything stopped. Instant silence. Not even static. Just nothing. And in that nothing, a single voice spoke. Calm. Too calm. It sounded like me, but older. Worn down. You're listening too early. Ray and I both froze. I whispered, what does that mean? The voice continued. You haven't died here yet. My stomach dropped. Ray stepped back slightly. That's not funny. But the voice didn't react. It never reacted. It just continued like a fact being read from a file. But you will. The room went cold. The figure on the bed finally moved fully upright. Slow. Controlled. It turned its head toward us completely now. And I saw something I didn't want to see. It wasn't copying me anymore. It was finishing me. The radio crackled back to life violently. All voices screaming now. But one stood out. Officer Klein. Her voice sharp. Panicked. You need to disconnect before the second overlap. Ray grabbed my arm. We need to go. Now. But I couldn't move. Because I understood what she meant. Second overlap. This wasn't one event. It was layered. One version on top of another. And we were standing in the middle of both. The radio exploded into static again. Then, my voice returned. Soft. Close. Right behind me. Too late for that. Ray turned instantly. But there was nothing behind us. Only the hallway. Dark. Waiting. The figure in the room took one step forward. And the radio spoke one final time. All voices gone now. Only one remained. Mine. But not mine from now. From after. You already stayed too long. The hallway lights went out. One by one. And the last thing I heard was Ray whisper my name. But he sounded like he already knew I wouldn't answer. The screen didn't go dark when everything else did. It stayed on. Still glowing. Still updating. Even when the room felt completely dead, Ray's flashlight dropped slightly in his hand. He was breathing too fast now. I can't see anything, he whispered. But I could. Not clearly. Not fully. But enough. The hallway was still there. The bedroom still behind us. The figure still inside it. But something had changed in the system. My radio wasn't the focus anymore. My tablet was. And it was updating faster than I could read. New entries were stacking one after another. No delay. No pause. Just truth after truth after truth. And every single one said the same thing. Unit status. Active. I blinked. Once. Twice. No. I whispered. Ray turned to me. What? I pointed at the screen. Look at this. He leaned in closer. His face tightened immediately, because now he saw it too. The system list. Every unit. Every officer. Every team that had been involved in any call tonight. All marked the same way. Active. Even Miller. Even Klein. Even the units that were officially declared missing. Ray shook his head slowly. That's impossible. But the system didn't care about impossible. It kept refreshing, like it was correcting reality instead of reporting it. Then a new line appeared, right at the top, and my stomach dropped when I read it. Unit 12, active primary observer. Ray looked at me instantly. Primary observer? That's you. I didn't answer, because I was already looking at the second line underneath it. Unit 12, active secondary instance. My throat went dry. Two of me, same designation, different state. Ray stepped back slightly. Okay, this is broken. This has to be a system glitch. But even as he said it, the radio in his hand crackled, and a voice came through. Calm, familiar, mine. It's not a glitch. Ray froze, slowly lifted the radio. Who is this? No answer, just my voice again. Softer now, closer. You already saw the list. I felt my hands go cold, because that wasn't playback. That was current. Ray looked at me. Is that you? I shook my head quickly. No, but even saying it felt weak now, because the system on my tablet flickered again, and new data started appearing underneath the unit list. Not names, not logs, something worse. Coordinates, but not physical ones, temporal ones. Times, moments. Each unit now had a timestamp beside it, and they weren't matching. Some were minutes apart, some were hours, some were even ahead of the current clock. Ray leaned closer. What the hell are these? I whispered. I don't know, but I did. I just didn't want to accept it. Each unit wasn't just active. It was active in a different version of time, and we were all stacked on top of each other, like pages in a book that was being read out of order. The radio crackled again. My voice returned. You're looking at it wrong. Ray turned toward the hallway instantly. Where is that coming from? I already knew. It wasn't coming from a location anymore. It was coming from the system itself. From every device we had. The tablet, the radio, even the house. My voice continued. You think active means alive? A pause. Then, it doesn't. My chest tightened. Ray stepped closer to me now. Stop listening to it. Turn it off. But I couldn't, because the system updated again. And this time, it showed something that made my stomach drop completely. A map, not of the city, not of the house, but of all units, connected, lines stretching between them, like a network. And every single line was looping back toward us. Ray saw it too. His voice dropped. That's not tracking, that's linking. I nodded slowly, because I understood now. We weren't separate units responding to calls. We were fragments of the same event, different outcomes of the same moment, all happening at once. The radio crackled again, but now it wasn't just my voice. It was layered, multiple versions of me speaking at the same time. You didn't leave the house. You didn't finish the check. You didn't disconnect. Ray backed up slowly. This is insane. But the system responded immediately. Insanity not detected. I froze. Ray looked at me sharply. Did it just... Yes, I whispered. The system continued typing on its own, as if reacting to us. All units are currently engaged in active loop. Loop, that word again. I felt something tighten in my chest. Because loops don't end. They repeat. The radio suddenly went silent. Completely. For 1 second. Just one. And in that second, I heard something outside the house. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Ray heard it too. He lifted his flashlight toward the hallway. Tell me that's backup, he whispered. But I already knew it wasn't, because the system updated again. External unit detected, already accounted for. Ray frowned. Already accounted for? What does that mean? Then the footsteps stopped. right outside the bedroom door. A shadow appeared under it, not moving, just waiting. The radio turned itself back on, but this time, it wasn't my voice. It was Ray's. "Don't open it." Ray froze completely, slowly turned toward me. I didn't say that. I nodded. "I know." The voice continued, but now it was layered again. Ray's voice, my voice, others I didn't recognize, all speaking together. "You already opened it." The door handle outside moved slightly, not turning, not knocking, just testing. Ray raised his weapon slightly. "We need to move, now." But I couldn't move, because the tablet lit up one last time, and the unit list expanded, beyond anything I expected. Dozens of entries, hundreds, all marked active, and at the very bottom, a new line appeared, slowly typing itself in, like it had been waiting for everything else to load first. Unit 12, source event confirmed. My breath stopped. Ray looked at me. What is that supposed to mean? But I didn't answer, because I finally understood something I didn't want to. We weren't inside the system. The system was inside us. The footsteps outside the door grew louder, closer, and the radio spoke one last time. Soft, almost gentle. "You are not responding anymore." The handle turned, slow, and I realized the worst part wasn't that the units were still active, it was that they were still reporting. The first thing I noticed wasn't the voice. It was the calm, too calm, like the child wasn't calling from fear, but from somewhere beyond it. 911, what is your emergency? I leaned closer to the headset, already tired. Night shifts always start quiet, but this one felt heavier. A small pause came through the line. Then a boy's voice, soft, even, almost polite. "There's someone in my house." I straightened slightly. "Okay," I said, "can you tell me where you are right now?" Another pause, longer this time. Then, "I'm in my room." Something about the way he said it made my skin tighten. Not scared, not crying, just stating it, like he was reporting weather. I glanced at my screen. No location glitch, no background noise, just a clean line connecting the call. Too clean. "What's your name?" I asked. A faint rustle came through, like he was turning his head. "I already told you," he said. My fingers paused over the keyboard. "You haven't spoken to me before." I said gently. Silence. Not empty silence. Waiting silence. Then, "You always say that first." I frowned. "Listen," I said, lowering my voice a bit. "Can you tell me what's happening in your house?" A long pause again. Then the boy spoke. And this time, something changed. Not the words. The timing. He answered before I finished the question. "He's in the hallway." I blinked. That shouldn't have been possible. Who was in the hallway? I asked, but even as I said it, I felt something cold crawl up my back, because I hadn't fully asked the question yet. The boy answered anyway. "The one you're thinking about." I stopped typing. For a second, the whole room felt quieter. Even the ventilation, sound seemed distant. "Are you alone?" I asked carefully. The boy didn't respond immediately. Instead, I heard a soft sound, like he was sitting up straighter. Then, "No." One word. Flat. Simple. I waited for more. Nothing came. So I followed protocol. "Is there someone with you right now?" A small exhale came through the line, almost like relief. Then, "He's closer than before." My throat tightened. I checked the system again. No trace on the caller ID. Still showing as unknown. But now, the audio waveform looked strange. It wasn't random. It was structured, like it was repeating patterns, like it had rhythm. "Can you describe what you see?" I asked. The boy answered instantly. "He doesn't look at me when I look at him." I froze. That wasn't normal language for a child. Not like this. Not like he was describing a game. I leaned forward slightly. "Is this person inside your house right now?" A pause. Then, he was already inside before I noticed. My fingers hovered over the alert button, but something stopped me. Something in his voice. Not fear, recognition. Like he wasn't discovering danger. Like he had already accepted it. "What's your address?" I asked. Silence. long, stretching. Then, you already know it. I looked at the screen again. Still no location data. But the system flickered once. Just once. And for half a second, an address appeared. Then vanished. I didn't catch it fully. But my brain did. Like it stored it without permission. I shook my head slightly. "Okay," I said carefully. "Can you stay on the line with me?" The boy replied immediately. I never left. My breath slowed. That sentence didn't match anything I expected. I checked the recording log. The call duration showed 2 minutes and 11 seconds. But it felt longer. Much longer. Like we had already been talking for too long. "Where are your parents?" I asked. The boy didn't answer right away. Instead, I heard movement. Slow. Soft. Like he was turning in his chair. Then, they stopped answering me. My chest tightened slightly. "Do you want to send help?" I asked. A pause. Then, "You already did." I frowned. "That's not possible. I haven't dispatched anyone yet." The boy's voice changed slightly. Still calm, but now quieter. "They're already outside." My eyes snapped to the dispatch queue. Empty. No units assigned. No active response. Nothing. But then, a new entry appeared. Automatically. Without input. "Unit en route. Unknown call location." I froze. "What the hell?" I muttered under my breath. The boy spoke again. And this time, something in my stomach dropped. "Don't let them come in." I straightened instantly. "Who is outside?" I asked quickly, but the boy didn't answer the question. Instead, "They don't knock the same way anymore." A chill ran down my arms. I leaned closer to the mic. "Listen to me," I said firmly. "Stay where you are. Lock your door." A pause. Then, "It's already locked from the outside." I stopped breathing for a second. My eyes flicked to the screen again. The system log updated. External interference detected in live call. That wasn't standard. Not even close. "Okay," I said slowly. "I need you to focus on my voice." "Can you do that?" The boy replied instantly. "You sound different now." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Silence. Then, "Like you're further away than before." I felt a strange discomfort in my chest. Like the room around me had shifted slightly. The boy continued. "He's at the door now." My hand moved automatically toward the alert button, but I hesitated. "Is there knocking?" I asked. The boy answered softly. "No." A pause. Then, "He doesn't need to knock anymore." My heart rate picked up slightly. I pressed the alert. Finally, "Units being dispatched," the system confirmed. But something was wrong. The address field was still blank. And yet, the system had still sent it. I leaned closer to the mic. "Help is on the way," I said. The boy didn't respond immediately. Then, "It always says that." A long silence. Heavy. Pressing. Then I heard something that made my stomach twist. A second voice. Faint. Not on the line. Not in the system. Somewhere behind the boy. A soft breath. Right next to the mic. The boy spoke again. But now, his calm was gone. Just slightly. "Don't let it learn your voice." My fingers froze. "What?" I whispered, but the line crackled, and the boy's voice started repeating. Not breaking, not glitching, repeating. "Don't let it learn your voice. Don't let it learn your voice. Don't let it learn your voice." I pulled back from the headset slightly. The waveform on the screen began to shift, not randomly, copying, matching my breathing, my rhythm, my silence. And then, for the first time, I heard something from inside the room I was in. Not the call, not the headset. A faint whisper, right behind me, soft, perfectly calm. "I already know your voice." I didn't turn around. Not yet, because on the screen, the child's call had stopped recording time. It was now showing something else. A live audio feed from inside my dispatch room. The moment I realized something was wrong, it wasn't when the child answered me. It was when he answered before me. Before I even spoke. "I need you to stay calm," I said into the mic, forcing my voice steady. A second passed. Then the boy said, "You're going to ask me if I'm still in the room." I stopped breathing. My hand froze over the keyboard. I hadn't asked that yet. Not even in my head, clearly. But he said it anyway, like he was reading the shape of my thoughts before they fully formed. I leaned closer to the headset. Okay, I said slowly. Are you still in the room? Silence. Not empty silence. Measured silence. Then, yes. I exhaled quietly. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe coincidence. Maybe panic memory. Kids repeat patterns. That's what training says. But something inside me already knew this wasn't that. Is the door still locked? I asked carefully, before I even finished the sentence. You're checking if the door is still locked. My fingers went cold. I looked at the screen again. The waveform had changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was structured like speech rhythm, like it was forming sentences before I spoke them. Listen, I said, lower my voice. I need you to answer only what I ask. Can you do that? A pause. Longer this time. Then, you're going to ask me if I can do that. My throat tightened. I pulled the headset slightly away from my mouth. Ray from the next station glanced over. What's wrong? He asked. I didn't answer him, because I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. The system log had started adding predictive lines. Not after my speech. Before it, I watched it happen in real time. Dispatcher will ask about external presence. My lips went dry, and then I heard myself speak without realizing. Is there someone else in the house? The child answered instantly. You're going to ask if there's someone else in the house. I leaned back in my chair, slightly. My heartbeat started to rise. Answer the question, I said firmly. A pause. Then, there is... I swallowed. Who? And again, before I finished, you're going to ask who? I clenched my jaw. This wasn't just delayed response anymore. This was anticipation. But not normal anticipation. It felt like the call already existed in full, and I was just walking through it line by line. Okay, I said carefully. Is that person inside the room with you? The boy replied instantly. You're going to ask if he is inside the room with me. My fingers curled into the desk edge. Stop doing that. I muttered. A pause. Then, you're going to tell me to stop doing that. My chest tightened. Ray leaned closer now. What the hell is happening on your channel? He whispered. I didn't answer, because now I noticed something worse. The system wasn't just predicting the boy. It was predicting me too. Every sentence I had spoken was already logged before I spoke it. I checked the timestamp column. My last 5 questions were already recorded, with exact phrasing, down to punctuation. My mouth went dry. That's impossible. I whispered. The boy spoke again, but now his voice sounded closer. Not physically, logically, like he was aligned with my thoughts. You're going to realize it's already happening. I felt a cold pressure in my chest. No, I said quietly. No, this is just a processing delay. Audio echo. System lag. But even as I said it, I saw the system respond. Denial detected before statement. My hand lifted slightly from the desk. Ray frowned. What does that mean? I didn't answer him, because I couldn't trust my own words anymore. The boy continued, and now there was something new in his voice. Not emotion, awareness. You're going to check if I'm repeating you. I froze. My eyes widened slightly, because I was already about to ask that, and I hadn't decided it yet. I leaned forward again, voice lower. Are you repeating what I say? I asked. Immediate response. You're going to ask if I'm repeating what you say. My breath caught. Ray stepped back slightly now. This is not normal dispatch traffic. No shit, but I didn't say it, because I was watching something else now. The waveform wasn't just mirroring anymore. It was branching, like multiple versions of the same conversation were happening simultaneously, and all of them ended with my voice. The boy spoke again, and this time his tone shifted slightly. Still calm, but heavier. You're going to realize I'm not answering you anymore. I frowned. What does that mean? I asked quickly, but the response came before I even finished. You're going to ask what that means. I stopped completely. My hands went still on the desk. Ray looked at me. We need to cut this call. I nodded slowly, reaching for the disconnect key. But the boy spoke again. Faster now. Sharper. You're going to try to disconnect the call. My hand froze midair. You're going to realize you can't. I swallowed hard and still pressed the button. Nothing happened. No disconnect tone. No termination signal. Just silence. And then my own voice came through the line. Not from me. From the system. You're going to look at the screen now. I looked against my will. The system log had expanded again. And now it wasn't just predicting me. It was simulating me. A full entry appeared. Dispatcher actions. Future attempt disconnect. Fail. Escalate tone. Request backup. Deny reality. I stepped back slightly from the console. Ray's voice got tense. Okay, that's it. I'm calling IT. But I grabbed his arm. No, I said quickly. Don't do that yet. He looked at me like I was insane. Why not? Because I already knew what would happen. The boy spoke again. Soft now. Almost tired. You're going to tell him not to call IT. I closed my eyes for a second. My pulse was loud in my ears now. When I opened them again, I spoke carefully. Listen to me. I said into the mic, what is your name? A pause. Long. Heavier than before. Then, you're going to ask me what my name is. I leaned forward, voice shaking slightly now. I just did, I said. Silence. Then, you already know it. My stomach dropped, because I didn't. But something in me reacted like I did, like the answer was already stored somewhere behind my thoughts. Ray stepped back slowly. This is looping. It's just looping language. But I shook my head. No, I whispered, because I saw it now. This wasn't repetition. It was completion. The conversation didn't start when I answered. It started before the child called. The boy spoke again, and now his voice was almost gone. Not fading, dissolving. You're going to understand soon. My voice came out quiet. Understand what? And for the first time, there was no prediction, just a response. Real, cold, final, that I already spoke to you. My breath stopped. The system screen flickered violently, and every entry updated at once. Not forward, not backward, but outside time entirely. And for a split second, I saw the call log. Full duration, complete transcript, already written, from beginning to end. And in it, I wasn't the dispatcher. I was the caller. The system didn't freeze. It finished the sentence. That was the worst part, like it had been waiting for me to realize it. On the screen, the full call transcript was still open, but it wasn't updating anymore. It was complete, clean, final, as if I had just finished reading something that already happened. Somewhere else, my hands felt cold on the desk. Ray was still talking beside me, but his voice sounded far away now. Hey, did you just see that? He asked. I didn't answer, because I couldn't pull my eyes away from the log. The last line of the transcript was there, waiting, and it didn't belong to me. It read, Unit dispatched, arrival confirmed. I whispered without thinking, That's not possible. Ray frowned. What? I pointed at the screen. His face tightened when he saw it. That just happened, he said quickly. We just sent them 5 minutes ago. I shook my head. No, I said quietly. We didn't get confirmation. But even as I said it, I knew I was wrong, because now the system was showing something new, a second layer. Beneath the call log, a live status update, and it was marked in red. Return unit status, unknown. Ray stepped closer. Returned. My throat felt dry. Units don't return like that. I whispered. The radio on my desk crackled again. Not static, not interference. A voice. Calm. Too calm. You sent them anyway. I froze. Ray looked at me immediately. Is that? Yes, I said quietly. My own voice. But it didn't sound like me anymore. It sounded tired. Like it already been through something I hadn't yet experienced. The child's voice followed right after. You already sent them. I leaned forward. Listen to me, I said into the mic, trying to stay steady. Help was just dispatched. They are on their way to you now. A pause. Long. Then, They already arrived. My stomach dropped slightly. No, I said quickly. That's not possible. It's only been minutes. The child didn't respond to that. Instead, he said something else. Something that made the air feel heavier. You're asking the wrong version of the question. I frowned. What does that mean? The reply came instantly. You're going to ask what that means. Ray rubbed his forehead. This is looping again. But I didn't think it was looping anymore. It felt layered, like multiple conversations were stacked on top of each other. The boy spoke again. Quieter now. They didn't come back the same way. I swallowed. Who didn't come back the same way? I asked carefully. But even as I asked it, I saw the system respond before him. Units 4, 6, 9, return condition. Inconsistent. Ray leaned in. What is inconsistent supposed to mean? I didn't answer, because now I heard something outside the room. Footsteps, but not approaching, arriving, like they were already inside the building, and just getting louder after the fact. The child's voice came again. You're going to open the door when they knock. I stiffened. What door? I whispered. Ray turned toward the hallway. No one is at the door. But the system disagreed. A new line appeared. External entry detected. Then another knock event registered. We both froze, because we hadn't heard anything. No knock, no sound. But the system had already logged it. Ray whispered, "This is impossible." I stood slowly. My legs felt wrong, like I was standing slightly behind myself. The radio clicked again. The child's voice returned, but now it sounded closer, not in distance, in time. You already opened it. My hand moved instinctively toward the hallway. Ray grabbed my arm. Don't. I stopped, but only physically, because my mind was already there, already remembering something I hadn't experienced yet. The hallway door, opening, slow, quiet, no resistance, and behind it, something standing too still. I shook my head quickly. No, I whispered. That hasn't happened. The child responded instantly. You're going to say it hasn't happened. I closed my eyes for a second. My breathing felt wrong now. Too aware, too watched. When I opened them again, the system had changed again. The dispatch log was updating on its own, but not forward, not backward, sideways, like events were branching into versions of themselves. Unit 4 encountered subject. No report received. Unit 6 encountered subject. Return partial. Unit 9 returned without entry memory. Ray stepped back slowly. We need to shut this down. But I didn't move, because the child spoke again. And this time his voice cracked slightly, just slightly. They're still with you. My throat tightened. What do you mean? I asked quickly. The response came immediately. You're going to realize they never left. Ray suddenly turned toward the hallway again. Did you hear that? He asked. I nodded slowly, because now I did hear it. Not footsteps. Breathing. Soft. Measured. Right behind us. The radio went silent for 2 seconds. Then, my voice returned. Not mine in the present. Mine from something else. You already met them. I stepped back from the console. No, I whispered, but the system didn't care. It updated again. And this time it showed something I didn't want to read. Returned units. Host compatibility active. Ray's voice dropped. Host what? I didn't answer, because I finally understood what return meant. They didn't come back. They brought something back with them. Something that didn't need to move anymore. The child spoke one last time. Very softly now. You're going to open the door again. My hand moved slightly. Without permission, Ray grabbed my wrist harder. Don't listen to it. But my eyes were already on the hallway, because the system had already confirmed it. The door was open, even if I hadn't touched it yet. And from the other side, I heard my own voice again, not speaking, waiting. The line shouldn't have stayed open this long. That was my first thought. Not fear, not panic, just irritation. Calls don't behave like this. They come in. You respond. You close them. Clean cycle. But this one just stayed. No voice. No background noise. Just breathing. Soft, steady, human. I leaned closer to the headset. 911, what is your emergency? Nothing. I checked the system. Active call. Duration, for minutes and 18 seconds. Still increasing. No disconnect request. No audio trigger. Just open line. Ray from across the room looked over. You got one. I nodded slightly. Yeah, but it's weird. He raised an eyebrow. Silent. Worse, I said quietly. It's not talking, but it's not hanging up either. Ray sighed. Probably pocket dial with bad signal. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But pocket dials don't breathe. I stayed on the line. Hello, I said again. Still nothing. Just that same slow breathing. Measured. Calm. Too calm. I checked the waveform display. It wasn't random static. It was consistent. Like someone was intentionally staying quiet. Listening. Waiting. I leaned forward slightly. Sir or ma'am, if you can hear me, please respond. A pause. Then a faint shift. Not a voice. Not yet. Just movement. Like someone adjusting their position. I frowned. Are you in danger? I asked. The breathing changed. Just slightly. A little closer. A little sharper. Ray walked over now. Still nothing. I shook my head. It's active, but it's not speaking. He looked at the screen. Duration's long. Yeah, I said. Too long. Then something happened that made me stop typing. The system log flickered. Just once. And added a line I didn't input. Caller is listening. I blinked. What the hell? I whispered. Ray leaned in. What's that? I didn't write it. I said quickly. He frowned. Auto tag, maybe? But I knew the system. It doesn't guess like that. I turned back to the mic. Sir, I need you to respond if you can hear me. A pause. Longer this time. Then a sound, not speech. A whisper of air, like someone exhaling right next to the mic. I froze slightly. Ray noticed immediately. Did it just... Yes, I said. The breathing stopped. Completely. Silence hit the line. Heavy. Unnatural. I checked the duration again. 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Still climbing. But now no audio. I leaned closer. Hello? I said carefully. Nothing. Then a faint click. Not from my headset. From the system itself. The log updated again. Audio source transferred. I frowned. Transferred to what? Ray shook his head. That's not a thing. But the system didn't care what was possible. The audio shifted. And suddenly, I heard my own voice. But not from me. From the line. Hello? I froze completely. Ray stepped back slightly. Was that you? No. I whispered. The voice continued. Calm. Exact. Even my breathing rhythm matched. 911, what is your emergency? My stomach tightened. I hadn't said that again. But it had. Ray looked at me now. Okay, that's not normal echo delay. I leaned in slowly. Who is this? I said into the mic. A pause. Then my own voice again. Who is this? I felt my throat go dry. Ray whispered. Is it recording you? I didn't answer, because now the waveform on my screen was changing. It wasn't just repeating. It was anticipating. Every time I thought about speaking, the line spoke first. I tested it. Slowly. I need your location. Before I even finished. I need your location. My hand tightened on the desk. Ray stepped closer. Okay, cut it. Just cut it. I reached for the disconnect, but the system flashed red. Call locked. Active interaction. I froze. What does that mean? Ray asked quickly. I don't know, I said, but I did know. It meant the call wasn't passive anymore. It was engaged, like something on the other side had decided to stay. The voice came again. Mine. Soft. Closer than before. You shouldn't have answered. My breath caught. Ray looked at me. Did you say something? I shook my head slowly. No. The line went silent again. But this silence was worse, because now I could hear something else behind it. Movement, not noise. Presence, like someone shifting just beyond hearing range. I leaned forward. Identify yourself, I said firmly. The reply came instantly. You already did. My fingers went cold. Ray frowned. That doesn't make sense. But I wasn't listening anymore, because the system log updated again. And this time it wasn't text. It was a playback, a short clip, audio waveform expanding. And I saw it clearly, my own voice, from earlier, saying words I hadn't spoken yet. Sir or ma'am, if you can hear me. I stepped back slightly. No, I whispered. Ray stared at the screen. That's you right now? I shook my head. That hasn't happened yet. The system responded immediately. Event already recorded. The line clicked again, and the voice returned. But now it wasn't just repeating me. It was correcting me. You're late. My heartbeat spiked. What do you mean I'm late? I said quickly. The reply came instantly. You always are. I stood up now. My chair rolled slightly back. Okay, I said, voice tightening. This is not a real call anymore. Ray stepped closer. Then what is it? I didn't answer right away, because I realized something. The breathing was back, but not from the line, from the room. Slow, measured. Behind me, I didn't turn. Not yet. The voice on the headset spoke again. Soft, almost amused. You finally noticed. Ray whispered. What? And then the system log updated one final time. Caller present in station. My throat went dry. The breathing behind me got slightly closer, and the voice on the line spoke from both directions at once. We're still connected. The breathing wasn't on the line anymore. It was under it, like it had moved behind the signal, and was now living inside the static itself. I stood completely still, not because I wanted to, because my body refused to decide what to do next. The headset crackled softly. No words, just that same slow inhale and exhale, measured, patient, too patient. Ray leaned in slightly. It's still there. I nodded once, but I didn't speak, because now I wasn't sure if speaking would make it worse. The sound shifted again. A thin layer of distortion rolled over it, like the call was being pulled through water, or through something thicker than air. Still breathing, still close, but now broken, fragmented. I leaned toward the mic slowly. Can you hear me? I asked. The system paused for half a second. Then the breathing answered first, before anything else. Not words, just a deeper inhale, right into my ear. Ray stepped back slightly. Okay, that's not coming from the headset anymore. I didn't respond, because I realized the same thing at the same time. The sound wasn't being transmitted. It was leaking from somewhere else in the room. I looked around slowly. The dispatch center looked the same. Monitors glowing, keyboards idle, coffee cups half full, but the air felt different now. Thicker, like the room had become a sealed space. The breathing came again, closer, but still layered under static, like it didn't know how to fully exist here yet. I spoke again, carefully. Identify your location. The system flickered. A response started to form, but the breathing cut through it. Louder now, not louder in volume, louder in presence. Ray muttered, "This is getting worse." I nodded slightly, because it was. The waveform on my screen was no longer stable. It was collapsing inward, like the audio was folding into itself. Then something changed. The breathing stopped. Instantly. No fade. No transition. Just gone. I frowned. Did it disconnect? Ray asked. I checked the system. Still active. Duration still increasing. 11 minutes and 43 seconds. 11 minutes and 44 seconds. Still open, but no sound. I leaned closer. Hello, I said. Silence. Too clean. Too intentional. Then a new sound. Not breathing. A whisper of interference. Like something brushing against fabric near the mic. I froze slightly. Ray noticed. What is it now? I didn't answer immediately, because the distortion wasn't random anymore. It was structured, like it was forming shapes. Not words yet, just rhythm. Slow, deliberate. Then the breathing returned. But different. Now it wasn't behind the static. It was inside it, like the static was inhaling. I felt my throat tighten slightly. This is not a normal signal, I said quietly. Ray rubbed his forehead. No kidding. I leaned in again. Who is this? I asked. A pause. Then, the static answered first. Not the voice, just distortion, but shaped like language. And behind it, the breathing synchronized, almost perfectly, like it was learning how to speak through noise. Then, a fragment of a voice. Not mine, not fully formed. Closer? I froze. Ray stepped forward. Did it just say closer? I nodded slowly, but I didn't like how it sounded. Not like a threat, like confirmation. The breathing grew slightly heavier, still layered, still incomplete. But now aware, I checked the system logs. No origin point. Still unknown, still untraceable. But the audio path had changed. It wasn't coming from a single source anymore. It was diffused. Every device in the room was now marked as a potential receiver. I whispered, "It's not on the line anymore." Ray frowned. "Then where is it?" I didn't answer, because I was starting to feel it. The room itself was becoming part of the call. The breathing came again, this time from the speakers on the wall, then from my headset, then from Ray's radio. All slightly out of sync, all slightly wrong, like different versions of the same moment overlapping. I stepped back slowly. "Disconnect all channels," I said quickly. Ray moved toward the console, but the system responded before he touched anything. Connection is not external. I stopped. "Read it again." My stomach tightened. Ray whispered. "What does that mean?" I didn't know, but I was starting to understand what it didn't mean. It wasn't coming in. It was already here. The breathing shifted again, and now it had texture, like it was getting closer to forming shape inside sound. The static cracked, and for half a second, I heard something inside it. Not words. Not yet. Just the feeling of a voice trying to remember how to exist. "You're listening." I froze completely. Ray looked at me. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," I said quietly. The system flickered again. A new log appeared. Audio anomaly integrating with ambient environment. Ray stepped back. Integrating with what? I looked around the room slowly. The fans, the lights, even the hum of the computers, all slightly out of rhythm now, like they were syncing to something else, something deeper. The breathing returned again, but now it wasn't just sound. It had direction. I turned slightly without thinking, toward the hallway. Ray followed my gaze. "Don't tell me it's coming from..." He stopped mid-sentence, because we both heard it, right outside the dispatch door. Breathing, not over the line anymore, not through devices. Just there, real, present. I took a slow step back. "This isn't a call," I whispered. Ray swallowed. "Then what is it?" The lights flickered once. The system updated, and for the first time, it wrote something without data input. Not logs, not error, just a single line. "Voice has left network." The breathing outside the door paused, for the first time, like it was listening to us instead of the system. Then, a soft exhale, right behind the glass. Ray raised his radio slightly, voice shaking. "We should not open that door." I didn't move, because I realized something worse. The voice wasn't trying to come in anymore. It had already arrived. It was just choosing where we would notice it first. It started with a sound I shouldn't have heard. My own chair, a slow creak, like someone was leaning back in behind me. But I was already sitting in it, and the headset on my ears wasn't supposed to pick up anything from my side of the room. I froze, fingers still hovering over the keyboard. The 911 line was still open. No voice, no caller ID, just that faint, steady static that never fully goes away in dispatch work. But under it, there was again, my desk drawer sliding open, a soft wooden scrape. I turned my head slowly. My desk was right there, everything in place. Drawers shut, empty coffee cup. My pen rolled slightly toward the edge like it had been nudged, but nothing was moving. "Okay," I whispered without meaning to. The headset clicked. Not a system sound. Something inside the call. A whisper in my own voice, delayed by a second too long. Okay. My stomach tightened. I pulled the volume down slightly, thinking it was just feedback, old wiring, bad channel routing. But then the sound changed. Now I heard typing. Fast, controlled, familiar rhythm. My own fingers. I looked at my keyboard. My hands weren't moving. Still, resting. But in the headset, I was typing. Every key I pressed was happening a moment before I did it. Not delayed. Predicted. I stopped completely. The typing in the headset stopped too, like it was waiting for me. A cold thought crawled in my mind. This wasn't replay. This wasn't echo. This was happening inside the call before it happened here. The radio on my desk crackled once. Dispatch channel stayed silent, but the 911 line breathed. Not words, just breath. Close, too close, like someone standing behind me and leaning into the microphone. I swallowed hard. 911 dispatch. Identify yourself, I said, forcing my voice steady. A pause. Then my own voice answered. Soft, flat, not mimicking me exactly, but close enough to make my skin tighten. Still trying to sound calm. I leaned back slightly. The chair creaked again, but this time I didn't move it. I stood up so fast my headset nearly slipped. The room behind me was empty. Just gray walls, blinking monitors, buzzing fluorescent lights. Normal. Too normal. I looked back at the screen. The call timer was still running. But now there was something new. A transcript window had opened automatically. We don't use automatic transcription for silent calls. I didn't enable anything. The text on the screen read, "You are standing now." I stepped back instantly. My heart hit hard. I hadn't said that out loud. The radio clicked again, this time louder. And from it came my voice again. Not current me, not recorded me. A version of me speaking like they were right here in the room. Don't turn around yet. My throat went dry. I turned anyway. Nothing, but my monitor flickered, just for a second. And in that flicker, I saw something behind me. A shadow shaped like a person sitting in my chair. Exactly my posture. Hands folded. Head tilted slightly, like it was listening to me breathe. I spun back. The chair was empty. But now it was slightly pulled back from the desk, like someone had just stood up. The call line crackled again. This time, not my voice. A child's voice. Calm. Too calm. You always check behind you twice. My fingers trembled over the mouse. How do you know that? I said before I could stop myself. Silence. Then the breathing returned. But it wasn't just on the call anymore. It was in the room. Soft. Rhythmic. Coming from the direction of the lockers behind me. I didn't want to look, but I did. Rows of metal lockers. Same as always. Slight dents. Old stickers. Nothing unusual, except one. A locker door slightly open. I don't remember leaving it like that. I walked slowly. Every step felt like it was already being replayed in the headset a moment before I took it. Step. Echo. Step. Echo. Inside the call, I could hear myself walking, exactly matching, perfect sync. That's when I understood something I didn't want to. The system wasn't recording me. It was running me. I reached the locker. My hand hovered over the metal edge. Inside the headset, my voice whispered, "Don't open it." I froze. The breathing got louder. Right behind me now. Not on the call anymore. In the room, I turned sharply. Nothing. But the locker door creaked wider on its own, just a few centimeters. Enough. Inside was darkness. No uniform. No supplies. Just a phone. My desk phone. The one sitting right next to me on my workstation. I turned back. My desk phone was gone. The headset clicked again. And now I heard two versions of me. One from the call. One from the room. Both speaking at the same time. You already answered it. My vision blurred slightly. I stepped back from the locker. The monitors in the dispatch room all flickered at once. Not random. Synchronized. And for half a second, every screen showed the same thing. A live feed of my own desk. From a different angle. From above. Like someone was watching me from the ceiling. And in that feed, I was already sitting back down, typing, working, smiling faintly, but I was still standing here, watching it. My breathing got shallow. No! I whispered. The headset responded instantly. Yes. My legs weakened. I grabbed the edge of the desk. The moment my hand touched it, I felt it, a vibration, like something underneath the desk was moving in time with my heartbeat. Then the call updated. New line of text appeared. You are the backup recording. My mouth went dry. The breathing in the room stopped. Everything went silent for a second, so sharp it hurt. Then the chair behind me moved again. Slow, deliberate, like someone settling back into it after a long shift. And a voice, my voice, spoke from behind me, not through the headset, not through the system. Right there. Close. You don't remember logging out. I turned slowly. My chair was occupied, not fully visible, not clear, just enough shape to understand it was me. Same uniform, same posture, same exhausted stillness. But its face flickered, like a bad signal. I stumbled back. The screens all turned black at once, except one, my monitor, still showing the live feed of the room, from above. And in that feed, I saw the truth I didn't understand. There were two versions of me, one standing, one sitting, and both were real enough for the system to keep running. The call timer hit 0, but instead of ending, it restarted. From -01:00, the headset whispered one last thing. Not a voice, not static. A final instruction. Take the call. My fingers moved before I decided to, hovering over the answer key. And just before I pressed it, I realized something worse. The breathing wasn't coming from the room anymore. It was coming from me, inside me, like I had been the one on the call all along. And I was just now realizing it. The screen flashed. Incoming call. My own number. Again. It didn't end when I hung up. That's the first thing I need you to understand. In dispatch, a call is supposed to stop when you cut the line. Silence. Reset. Move on to the next emergency. But this one stayed. Not on the system. Not on the headset. Somewhere inside the building. I stood there with my hand still hovering over the disconnect key, even though the screen already showed the line closed. But the headset, it was still alive. Not static anymore. Breathing. Slow. Close. Like someone was standing just behind my shoulder. Trying not to be heard, I pulled the headset off. For a second, I thought it would stop. It didn't. The sound followed me into the room. I froze. My first instinct was simple. Equipment failure. Audio bleed. Old wiring. Something physical. So I did what I always do when things don't make sense. I blamed the building. The dispatch center is old. Concrete walls. Narrow hallways. A place where echoes sometimes feel like they come from the wrong direction. I walked out of my station. The main floor was empty. Too empty. All other desks were lit, monitors humming, but no one was there. No voices. No movement. Just a soft, constant electrical hum of systems that should have had people behind them. I called out once. Hello. My voice felt swallowed immediately. No reply. Then I heard it again. The breathing. But now it wasn't in my headset. It was in the hallway outside the main floor. I followed it. Each step felt like it arrived a second before I took it. Like the building already knew where I was going. The hallway lights flickered as I moved. Not randomly. In rhythm. Like something was pacing me from the other side of the walls. I reached the first corridor junction. The emergency exit sign buzzed faintly above me. And from the right hallway, I heard my voice. Not speaking. Breathing. Matching mine exactly. I stopped. It stopped. I moved again. It followed. I turned the corner fast. Nothing. Just empty hallway. Lockers. Bulletin boards. A vending machine with a blinking light. But the sound didn't disappear. It shifted. Now it was coming from the wall itself. Like something inside, it was breathing through concrete. My stomach tightened. I pressed my hand against the wall, without thinking. Cold. Solid. But the breathing grew clearer the moment I touched it. And then, a faint voice through the plaster. My voice. You came closer. I pulled my hand back instantly. The wall vibrated slightly like it reacted to me. I stepped away. The sound followed, always just behind me now. Not ahead, not around, behind, like something learning my exact distance. I started walking faster. The corridor stretched longer than it should have. That was the first real moment I felt it. The geometry was wrong. The hallway should have ended at the stairwell in 10 steps. But I kept walking, and it kept going. The lights overhead flickered in a repeating pattern. Not random, repeating, like a loop, like the same few seconds playing again and again. Then I saw something that made my throat go dry. A door, my dispatch room door, right in front of me again. I had already passed it. I was sure of it, but there it was. Same scratches, same sticker on the corner, same half-broken handle. I hadn't turned around. I hadn't looped back. The building had. From inside the hallway speaker, my voice whispered again, "You always come back to the start." I backed away slowly. The door opened slightly on its own, just a crack, and from inside the room, I heard typing, fast, controlled, familiar. My typing. I pushed the door open. The dispatch room was exactly as I left it. Too exactly. My chair was still slightly pulled back, my monitor still glowing, and on the screen, the 911 system was open, but the call list was wrong. Every active line showed the same number, mine, every single one, and each one had a live status. Connected, not ringing, not waiting, connected. I stepped inside slowly. The room felt colder than before, not temperature, presence, like the air had been used. My headset was on the desk. I don't remember placing it there, but it was recording again. I hesitated. Then I picked it up. The moment it touched my ear, the sound returned instantly, breathing, but now layered, multiple breaths. Not one voice, not one presence. Many, all slightly out of sync, like a room full of people breathing through the same system. Then my own voice spoke through again. "Calm, close. You brought it back with you." I backed away from the desk. "What do you want?" I said. A pause. Then, "You already answered that." The monitors flickered again, all at once, and for a second, I saw something impossible. Every screen in the building, every camera feed, every terminal, all showing the same hallway. My hallway, but I wasn't alone in it anymore. There were shapes, standing where no one was standing before. Not fully visible, not fully formed, just outlines. Watching, listening, waiting. The headset tightened against my ear like something was pressing from the other side. And then the worst part happened. The system voice, the automated dispatch AI, spoke. But it didn't sound automated anymore. It sounded like me. New call assigned. I froze. The screen updated. One new entry. Incoming location. Dispatch center, internal. My heart dropped. "That's not possible," I whispered. The voice responded immediately. It already happened. The hallway lights outside the room went out one by one. Slow, deliberate, like something was closing its eyes across the building. The breathing grew louder. Not in my headset now. In the room. Behind me. I turned slowly. The chair wasn't empty anymore. Not this time. It was occupied. Not fully visible, but enough to understand it was sitting exactly like me, wearing the shape of me, looking at me through something that wasn't a face. And it spoke, not through sound, through the system, through every speaker, through every screen, through the building itself. You never disconnected the original call. My throat tightened. That was the original call. The monitors all shifted at once, and I finally saw it. The timeline of the system. Not logs, not records. A loop. Every call I had taken tonight. Every voice. Every emergency. All of it feeding back into the same moment. This moment. The dispatch room. Me. Standing here. Still connected. The headset on my desk clicked one last time. And from it, a final whisper came. Not from outside me anymore. From inside me. Answer the next one. The screen blinked. Incoming call. My own number. Still ringing. Still alive, still waiting. And this time, I knew it wasn't calling me anymore. It was calling for me. It wasn't the screaming that made me freeze. It was the certainty in his voice. Send someone now, please. I'm at the house on Birch Line, number 17. Please hurry. I typed it instantly. Birch Line 17. The system didn't even hesitate. No match found. That should have been normal. It happens sometimes. Old roads, wrong spelling, panic from callers. But what made my fingers stop moving was the second I saw it. The system didn't just say, no match. It blinked once, then refreshed itself, and changed the response. Address confirmed. Birch Line 17, active zone. I leaned forward. That's not possible. I muttered under my breath. I clicked it again. Same result. Active zone. But I had been working dispatch for 4 years. There was no Birch Line in this county. Not even close. I pulled up the map manually. Zoomed out. Zoomed in. Nothing. Blank space where the road should have been. Just forest data. Old survey lines. Nothing usable. I felt a small, cold weight settle in my chest. Then the call crackled again. Still connected. Still alive. And the voice on the line changed. Not louder. Not distorted. Just closer. You see it now? I straightened. Sir, I need you to stay calm and confirm your location again. A pause, then a soft breath, like he was right next to my headset. I already did, he said. My fingers tightened on the mouse. I checked the system logs. Call time, for minutes and 11 seconds. Caller ID, unknown. Audio feed, clean. But there was something else. A second timestamp running underneath the first one. For minutes and 12 seconds. For minutes and 11 seconds. For minutes and 10 seconds. It was counting backwards. I blinked hard. That's not how time works. I whispered. The caller spoke again. You're checking the wrong time. My throat went dry. I clicked the audio gain up. Sir, listen to me carefully. I'm sending units, but I need landmarks. Silence. Then a sound, not words. A faint ambient noise. Wind through trees. But not normal wind. It had rhythm, like it was breathing through branches. And underneath it, something else. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Not approaching the caller. Approaching me. I pulled the headset slightly off my ear. The sound stayed. That's when I realized something worse. It wasn't coming from the call anymore. It was coming from the room. I looked over my shoulder. Dispatch floor empty. Light steady. Nothing moving. But the footsteps continued. Behind me, inside the building. Closer than they should have been. I stood up slowly. Hello? I called out again. No answer. But the system beeped. A new line had appeared on my screen. Auto update. Field unit dispatched. That was impossible. No unit had been assigned. I hadn't even confirmed. I clicked it. Unit ID, 7B. Status. En route. Location, Birch Line 17. My stomach dropped slightly. Unit 7B was inactive. Had been inactive for 3 weeks. I checked the roster. Still listed as active. Still showing movement. But I knew, everyone knew, 7B was gone. Missing during a rural response. Never returned. No wreckage. No contact. Just gone. The caller spoke again. Softer now. They're already coming. I grabbed the radio mic. Control to 7B. Respond. Static. Then a voice. Not radio clear. Not digital. Human, but wrong. Dispatch. We're on approach. My blood went cold. That's impossible, I said aloud, because that wasn't the voice of 7B. It was mine. Not imitation. Not distortion. My exact tone. My exact cadence. Just slightly delayed, like it was remembering how I spoke. I gripped the desk. Who is this? I said into the mic. Silence. Then the caller again. From Birch Line 17. You already sent them. My screen flickered. The map updated on its own. A road appeared. Not drawn. Not loaded. Just formed, like it had always been there, but was only now being noticed. Bert's line stretched across the screen like a scar to the forest grid, and a small blinking icon appeared on it. Unit 7B, moving, but not toward the caller, toward the dispatch center, toward me. I stepped back from my chair. No, 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 I whispered. The radio clicked again. 7B voice came back, closer this time. We see the building now. My heart hammered. That was not possible. They were supposed to be miles out. The caller spoke again, but now his voice was shaking. They're not coming for me, he said. A pause. Then, they're coming for me. That didn't make sense. None of it did. I looked at my screen again. The route map zoomed automatically, centered on my building, on dispatch, and the unit icon stopped, right outside. My breath caught, because I heard it, not through speakers, not through radio, through the wall, a vehicle engine idling, then shutting off, silence, then footsteps, inside the hallway, slow, heavy, approaching the dispatch door. I backed away from the console. This is not happening, I said out loud, but the screen changed again. Call log updated. Call transfer complete receiver. On site. My headset crackled violently, and both voices overlapped. The caller from Birchline and Unit 7B at the same time. Same frequency. Same breath. You opened it, they said together. The dispatch door handle moved. Once. Slow. Like someone testing if I was ready to answer. I reached for the panic button under the desk, but my hand stopped halfway, because the system did something it had never done before. It locked my controls. All of them. Keyboard dead, mouse frozen, radio unresponsive, even the emergency override panel flashed red. Access denied, call in progress. I whispered, "What call?" And the answer came instantly, from everywhere, from the headset, from the radio, from the building itself. This one. The door creaked open. Not fully, just enough. And what I saw in that gap made my mind reject it before I could understand it. A figure stood there, not fully formed, not solid, but wearing the shape of someone I knew. Someone I had spoken to earlier on the radio. 7B, but their face wasn't human anymore. It was like static trying to remember skin. And behind them, far beyond the hallway, I heard more footsteps. Multiple. Arriving. Not one unit. Not two. All of them. All at once. The system beeped one final time. New message. Caller location updated. You are here. And for the first time in my entire career, I realized the call was never about Birchline 17. It was about the place that answers it. The screen blinked again. Not a normal blink. Not a refresh. It was like the map itself forgot something mid-thought. I leaned closer to my monitor, my fingers still hovering over the radio console. The caller from earlier was still open in the system, still marked active, still breathing through static. But the address was gone. Just gone. I typed it again, slower this time. My eyes didn't leave the screen. Nothing. No match found. I whispered it without meaning to. Like saying it out loud might make it more real. Behind me, the dispatch room was normal. Too normal. Chairs scraping. Radios chattering. Phones ringing in the distance. People doing their jobs like nothing was wrong. But my screen felt different. Like it was slightly out of sync with the rest of the world. The caller was still there. Still connected. Still silent. Except for that faint breathing under the static. I pressed my headset closer. Unit 14, do you copy? I asked. No answer. Just that same low, uneven breath. Then something strange happened. The map updated. Not with the address, but with a blank space. A gray void where the street should have been. I frowned. That's not possible. I zoomed out. The void stayed. I zoomed further. It grew, like the map was deleting itself around that one point. My stomach tightened. I've seen glitches before. Systems lag. GPS misfires. Bad data feeds. But this wasn't that. This felt intentional. Like something was being erased on purpose. My radio crackled again. A voice came through. Not the caller this time. Unit 14. We're en route, the officer said. I froze. Repeat. I said quickly. Unit 14, confirm your location. Static. Then his voice again. We're on the road. Heading in now. I looked at the map. There was no route drawn. No moving icon. Nothing showing their vehicle at all. Just that empty space where the address should be. My hands went cold. I opened the C80 logs. Scrolled fast. Checked the dispatch entry. It showed Unit 14 dispatched. But the destination field was blank. Like it had never been filled. That wasn't right. I remembered entering it myself. I remembered typing it twice because the caller's voice was so calm it made me nervous. I checked the audio log. The original call was still there. I hit playback. The dispatcher version of me answered first. My own recorded voice. Then the caller. Hello, the voice said softly. A child, no older than 10. My chest tightened. I leaned closer. Were you? I heard myself ask in the recording. A pause. Too long. Then the child spoke again, not answering. Instead, it said, You already asked that. I frowned harder. In the recording, I asked again. Same question. Slight frustration in my tone. And the child answered before I even finished speaking. It's the house that doesn't show up. I stopped the playback. My hand hovered over the mouse. Because that wasn't how memory worked. I didn't remember being interrupted like that. I didn't remember losing control of the conversation. A cold pressure built behind my eyes. I opened the map again. The void had changed shape. Now it looked less like missing data. More like something standing still in the middle of the city grid. Like a hole punched through reality itself. And then the GPS feed on the side panel flickered. One unit blinked. Then another. Unit 14, no location. Unit 22, no location. Unit 31, rerouting failed. I swallowed hard. Okay, I whispered to myself. System error. Just system error. But even as I said it, I knew I didn't believe it. My radio crackled again. Unit 14, we're almost there. I sat up straight. Unit 14, you are not showing on GPS. Confirm your position. A pause. Then the officer replied, We're looking at it right now. My hands tightened on the console. What do you see? I asked. The answer came slower this time, like he was struggling to describe it. Just houses, he said, but they don't match the street. A long pause followed. Then quieter. They keep changing. My screen flickered. The map zoomed in by itself. Not my input, not anyone else's. Just movement. Like the system was leaning forward to look. I felt my throat go dry. Unit 14, I said carefully, do not exit the vehicle. Repeat, do not. The radio cut me off. Not static. Silence. Then a new sound. Breathing. But not the callers this time. This breathing was deeper. Closer. Like it was inside the radio itself. I pulled the headset off for a second. Just to breathe. The dispatch room felt different now. Quieter. Not empty, just less real. I looked around. No one was reacting. No one seemed to hear what I was hearing. I turned back to the screen and saw something that made my chest lock up. The map wasn't just deleting the location anymore. It was rebuilding it. Wrong. Street lines appeared where they shouldn't be. Buildings shifted positions like they were being shuffled by invisible hands. And at the center of it all, a blinking icon labeled Unit 14. But it wasn't moving toward the destination anymore. It was already there. I checked the timestamp. They had arrived before they were even dispatched. My mind refused to process it. That wasn't possible. Not even with bad data. Not even with lag. I opened the live feed channel. Unit 14, respond. Silence. Then a voice, but not through the radio. Through my headset directly. Dispatch. I flinched so hard my chair rolled back slightly. The voice was Officer Miller. I recognized him instantly, but something was wrong with it, like it was being played back through wet speakers. Unit 14 status? I forced out. A pause. Then Miller said, We're inside the house. My fingers trembled. Which house? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, the one you sent us to. I shook my head. I didn't send you anywhere. The system, there was no address. But even as I said it, I checked again, and my screen changed. The dispatch log had updated. It showed a full address now, one I didn't recognize writing, one I didn't remember typing. But it was there, time-stamped, confirmed, my name next to it. I felt my stomach drop. No, I whispered. No, I didn't do that. The radio crackled again, but this time, multiple voices overlapped. Unit 14, Unit 22, Unit 31, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing. We're inside. My hands went numb. I pulled off my headset completely. The voices didn't stop. They weren't coming from the radio anymore. They were coming from the room, somewhere behind me. I turned slowly. The dispatch center looked the same, but every monitor on the far wall had changed. All of them showed the same map, the same empty space, the same shifting streets. And at the center, a blinking icon, marked home. I stepped back. What is that? I whispered. The icon expanded slightly, like it noticed me looking. Then my headset, still on the desk, crackled again, and a child's voice spoke one last time. Calm, too calm. You should have answered differently. My breath caught. I reached for the console to shut everything down, but the system locked. Every screen froze, except one, my own terminal. It updated slowly, text forming like it was being typed by someone else. Nothing is missing. You just remembered it wrong. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Behind me, something shifted. Not footsteps, more like space itself adjusting. The radio clicked back on by itself, and I heard Officer Miller again. But this time his voice was closer. Too close. Dispatch, he said softly. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. He paused, then added, we never left the building. The lights flickered, just once, and in that single blink of darkness, I understood something I didn't want to understand. The map wasn't broken. It wasn't glitching. It was correcting itself, and I was still logged in. The radio wasn't static anymore. It was breathing, slow, wet, human, and every breath sounded closer than the last. I sat frozen in the dispatch chair, staring at the frozen map on my screen. That blinking icon labeled home still pulsed softly, like it was waiting for me to accept it, like it belonged to me. My fingers hovered over the console, but I couldn't move, not because I didn't want to, but because something inside me was hesitating, like my own body didn't trust my decisions anymore. Then Unit 14 came back online, but it wasn't one voice this time. It was all of them. We are somewhere between roads. The words came in layers, overlapping, slightly out of sync, like multiple people speaking the same sentence a fraction apart. I swallowed hard. Unit 14, clarify your location. Silence followed. Not empty silence. Occupied silence. Then Officer Miller's voice pushed through the noise. Dispatch. There are roads here, but they don't stay still. I leaned closer to the mic. Explain that. A pause. Longer this time. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. The road behind us is not the same road we just passed. My eyes flicked to the map again. It flickered, just once, and changed. I saw a thin gray line appear where there had been nothing before. Then another, like veins growing under skin. Unit 14, I said slowly, are you saying you're lost? A short laugh came through the radio, but it wasn't humor. It was exhaustion. We are not lost, Miller said. The place keeps changing shape around us. I looked toward the other dispatchers in the room. No one else seemed alarmed. Phones rang. Keyboards clicked. Coffee was poured. Normal night shift noise. But I felt like I was sitting inside a different layer of reality. Like I had slipped half a step out of sync with everyone else. The radio crackled again. This time a different voice joined in. Unit 22. We found them. My head snapped up. Found who? No response. Then Unit 31 came through immediately after. No, we didn't find them. They found us. A chill crawled up my spine. I checked the system again. 3 units now marked active in the same location. But that location didn't exist on any known map. It was just blank space wrapped in shifting lines that refused to settle. I zoomed in, and the lines moved away from the cursor, like they were avoiding being seen. I whispered, "This is not real." But even as I said it, I didn't believe my own voice. The radio filled again. All 3 units speaking at once. "We are on the road. We are under the road. We are inside the road." I closed my eyes for a second, forcing myself to breathe. When I opened them, the map had changed again. Now there was a shape forming in the center of the blank space. Not a building, not a road, something in between, like a structure trying to remember what it was supposed to be. I tapped the console. All units, describe surroundings clearly. Start with landmarks. Officer Miller responded first. "There are street signs, but the names keep changing." Unit 22 cut in. We passed a gas station 3 times. It was empty, then full, then gone. Unit 31 added quietly, "The sky is lower here." I frowned. "The sky is not something you can measure like that." Silence. Then Miller replied, "Slower now. It presses down when we stop moving." I leaned back slightly in my chair. My mouth had gone dry. I opened the GPS feed again. Checked coordinates manually. But the numbers weren't stable. They kept rewriting themselves. Like the system couldn't decide where the units were supposed to exist. Then something worse happened. The map zoomed out on its own, far beyond the city, far beyond the state. And then it stopped, on a place that shouldn't have been there. A long, looping stretch of roads forming a circle. No beginning, no end, just overlapping paths like threads tangled in water. I stared at it. "This is impossible," I whispered, and then the radio answered me directly. Not Unit 14, not dispatch channels. Something else, something calm, too calm. It is only impossible when you insist on a single direction. I froze. That voice was not human. Not exactly. It sounded like language trying to imitate human speech after forgetting what humans were supposed to sound like. I leaned forward. "Identify yourself." No answer, but the map reacted. The circular road structure pulsed. Once, twice, like a heartbeat. Then Unit 14 came back in. "Dispatch, we see something ahead." My grip tightened on the edge of the console. "Do not approach anything unknown. Stay in the vehicle." A pause. Then Miller said, "We already drove through it." My heart dropped. "What do you mean you drove through it?" His voice came quieter now. "We passed a point where the road stopped being behind us." Unit 22 interrupted and started being in front of us again. I looked at the map again. The circular road had changed. Now there were small blinking dots inside it, moving, following the same path. I zoomed in and realized something that made my breath catch. The dots were labeled Unit 14, Unit 22, Unit 31, but they were all in the same place, moving in the same circle, endlessly, like they were stuck inside a loop they couldn't escape. I stood up without thinking. The chair rolled back slightly behind me. "That's not tracking error." I said out loud, "That's replication." The room didn't respond. No one reacted. It was like I hadn't spoken at all. I looked around again. Something felt off. Not visually, structurally, like the room was continuing around me, but not including me anymore. The radio crackled violently. Miller's voice came through sharper now. "Dispatch, we saw something outside the window." I forced myself to sit back down. "Describe it." A long pause followed. Then he said, "It looked like the road we left behind." Unit 31 added, "But it was still moving." I felt my hand start to shake. The map flickered again, and for half a second, I saw it. Not just roads, not just geography, but repetition. The same segments of road looping back into themselves like broken tape, like reality had forgotten how to continue forward. Then it snapped back. The system stabilized. But something had changed. The units were no longer marked as moving. They were stationary. All 3, at the same coordinate. My screen updated slowly. New status. Interference confirmed. I leaned closer. Below that line, another message appeared. Not all locations are spaces. Some are conditions. My chest tightened. What does that even mean? I whispered. Then the radio came alive again. But this time, only one voice. Officer Miller. And he sounded closer than before. Too close. Dispatch, he said softly. I swallowed. Go ahead. A long pause. Then, we think we are already here. The room lights flickered once. Just once. And in that moment of dimness, I noticed something I shouldn't have been able to notice. My screen reflection didn't match my movement. It was slightly delayed, like it was remembering me after I had already acted. The radio clicked again, and Miller spoke one last time. But this time his voice wasn't coming from the system. It was coming from behind me. We're not moving anymore. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because on my screen, the map had updated again. And now, the blinking icon labeled home was no longer in the distance. It was centered exactly where I was sitting, inside the building, inside the room, inside me. The screen wouldn't let me log off. That was the first thing I noticed. Not the exhaustion, not the ringing in my ears, not the way my hands were shaking slightly from too much caffeine and too many hours without silence. It was a system, frozen on the logout screen, just a blinking cursor, waiting. I clicked again. Nothing. Behind me, the dispatch room was winding down like it always did at the end of rotation. Chairs pushed back, radios lowered, voices softer now, like even sound was tired of existing. Someone laughed near the coffee machine. Another dispatcher stretched, so hard their bones cracked loud enough to echo. Normal end-of-night things. But my screen didn't feel normal. It felt like it was watching me. I leaned closer. Come on. The cursor blinked once, twice, then stopped blinking. Just solid, like it had decided not to wait anymore. A cold feeling slid down my spine, but I told myself it was nothing. Systems glitch. Old software. Overworked network. That's all it ever was in a place like this. I pressed logout again. This time the screen changed. Not to the desktop, not to the home menu, but to a message I didn't recognize. End of rotation confirmed. I frowned. That wasn't our system wording. That wasn't even standard language. I glanced over my shoulder. Nobody else seemed to notice. Everyone was already half gone mentally, packing up their shift in their heads before their bodies caught up. I turned back. The message had changed. Welcome back. My throat tightened a little. Back from where? I muttered under my breath. The system didn't answer, but it did something worse. It opened my active call log. Every incident I had handled tonight appeared on the screen. Normal at first. Routine. Domestic calls. False alarms. Static-heavy dispatches. Then I noticed something off. One entry didn't have a timestamp. Just a blank space where the clock should be. I clicked it. Audio started instantly. No loading. No confirmation. Just sound. My own voice filled the headset. Calm. Controlled. Too familiar. Dispatch, what's your emergency? I froze. That wasn't unusual. We all have recorded fragments in the system. But something about this felt wrong. The caller responded. A pause first. Too long. Then a child's voice. Soft. Close. I think something is in the hallway. I leaned in without meaning to. The recording continued. My voice again. Can you describe it? Another pause. Then the child said something that made my stomach tighten. It sounds like you when you breathe. I pulled the headset slightly off my ear, just to make sure I was still here, still in the room, still real. The recording kept going. My voice asked another question, but before I even heard it, the child answered again. It's closer now. I blinked hard. That wasn't how recordings worked. They didn't predict responses. They didn't anticipate. I reached for the mouse to close it, but the system moved on its own. The audio switched. New file. Same call, but from a different angle, like it was being replayed from inside the house instead of the dispatch room. The child was breathing heavier now, not scared, listening. Then a soft knock, 3 taps. My recorded voice said, "Hello?" But the child whispered something before I even finished the sentence. It's at the door now. I stopped breathing for a second, because in the real room behind me, there was no door sound, just silence. But the recording continued. The child spoke again, and this time, the voice changed slightly. Not tone, position, like it moved closer to the microphone, without the scene changing. It sounded like your chair when you turn. My fingers went cold on the mouse. I didn't move, but in the recording, my chair creaked, slowly, like someone was turning in it. I jerked my hand back. The sound cut instantly. Silence returned to the headset. I sat there, staring at the frozen playback window. My reflection in the screen looked slightly delayed, like it was thinking about catching up. Behind me, someone called my name. "Hey, you logging off?" I turned quickly. It was Mark from night shift, holding his bag, half smiling, already mentally outside the building. "Yeah," I said too fast. "Just finishing up." He nodded, tired. "Long night." I almost laughed. Long didn't feel like the right word anymore. "Normal," I said instead. He walked past me, heading for the exit. Everything felt normal again for a second. That was the worst part. The normal moments. They made the strange ones feel sharper. I looked back at my screen. The system had changed again. Now it showed a single line. Rotation not complete. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. Then it added another line beneath it. Subject still active. My throat tightened. I moved the mouse, scrolled through my profile settings. Everything looked fine until I saw my name. It wasn't highlighted like usual. It was marked in red. Active caller. I leaned back slightly. "That's not possible," I whispered. The dispatch system didn't mark people like that. We were operators, not subjects. I clicked it. A new window opened immediately. No loading again. Just instant response. A live audio feed. But it wasn't from outside. It was from inside the room. From behind me. Soft breathing. Slow. Measuring. I turned around. The room looked empty. Almost empty. But the sound didn't disappear. It stayed in my headset. Right ear. Then left. Like it was circling me. I stood up slowly. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. Just breathing. Then the system screen flickered, and something appeared I had never seen before. A camera feed. Not street cameras. Not dispatch cams. Room camera. My room. Right now. I saw myself standing there, but slightly off. Not fully aligned with my movement. My reflection in the live feed turned its head a fraction earlier than I did. My breath caught. I hadn't moved yet, but the feed had. Then in the audio, my voice spoke, even though I hadn't said anything. And the rotation acknowledged. I stumbled back a step. "No," I said out loud. "No, that's not." But the feed showed me saying it, perfectly synced, like it was already decided. The system typed again on its own. Rotation complete. Welcome back. The lights in the dispatch room flickered once. Just once. And in that single blink of darkness, I realized something that made my chest go tight. The room didn't feel like it was ending a shift. It felt like it was restarting one. My headset crackled softly, and a familiar voice whispered through it. My own voice. Calm. Tired. As if I had been here longer than I remembered. "Dispatch, what's your emergency?" But I wasn't on the line anymore. I was the one being answered. And somewhere in the system, my next call was already waiting. The phone rang before I even saw it. That was the first wrong thing. Because in dispatch, phones don't ring like that unless something is already broken. I stared at my console. Every line was quiet. Every channel idle. But the ringing continued. Slow. Patient. Like it knew I would pick up eventually. I reached for the headset. But my hand stopped halfway. The screen lit up on its own. Incoming call. No number. No location. Just a blank space where identity should have been. I swallowed once. That's not possible. Still, I clicked answer. The room didn't change. But the sound did. Silence first. Not empty silence. Heavy silence. Like something was already on the line, just waiting for me to notice it was there. Then a voice came through. Calm. Too calm. Dispatch. My fingers tightened on the console. Something about that voice didn't belong in the system. Not because it was distorted. Because it was perfect. Too clean. Too close. Go ahead, I said carefully. A pause followed, long enough for my instincts to start screaming at me to hang up. Then the voice spoke again. I'm calling to confirm. My throat tightened. Confirm what? Another pause. This one felt intentional, like it was thinking about how much I already knew. Then it said that the shift is still active. I frowned. Shift ended 20 minutes ago. Silence again. But this time, it didn't feel like waiting. It felt like disagreement. Then the voice responded softly. No, it didn't. My eyes flicked to my screen. The system still showed me logged in. Still active. Still connected. I forced a breath. Who is this? A slight sound came through the line. Not a laugh. More like someone adjusting their position in a room that was too small. Then, you already know. My stomach tightened. I looked around the dispatch room. Everything was normal. Too normal. Even the lights felt stable now, like nothing strange had ever happened tonight. But the call didn't feel like it belonged in that version of reality. State your unit, I said. A pause. Then the voice replied. There is no unit. That made my hand freeze. Every call has a unit. Every dispatch, every response, every log entry. No unit meant no origin, no system, no trace, just presence. I swallowed. Then why are you calling dispatch? A longer pause this time, the kind that made my skin feel too tight. Then the voice said something that made my breath stop halfway in my chest. Because you answered before I called. I blinked. Once. Twice. That doesn't make sense. I said quickly, that's not how calls work. A soft exhale came through the line, almost disappointed. You keep thinking in order, the voice said. My grip tightened on the headset. What does that mean? No immediate answer. Instead, I heard something faint in the background of the call. A room tone, not static, not radio noise. Something quieter, like the inside of an empty building that hasn't decided what sound it should have yet. Then, very softly, the voice added, You already spoke to me. My chest tightened. I've never heard your voice before, I said. Another pause. Then, yes, you have. The screen in front of me flickered once, and for half a second, I saw something I shouldn't have seen. A recording, my own dispatch feed. But I wasn't on the headset. I was already talking, already answering, already engaged in conversation I didn't remember starting. I jerked forward. What did you just do? The feed vanished instantly. The call stayed. The voice stayed. Calm. Unchanged. You logged it. The voice said, You stored it. You archived it. You replayed it. My throat went dry. No, I whispered. That's not real. A soft pause. Then gently, Then why does it still exist in your system? My eyes darted to the logs. Without me touching anything, a new file had appeared. Final incoming call. Active. I didn't open it. I didn't need to, because I could already hear it playing faintly through my headset. My own voice. Speaking, but not in confusion. In certainty. Dispatch. Please confirm location. I froze. That wasn't how I remember my own shift. The voice on the line spoke again. It always starts like that. My breathing slowed, without permission. What starts like what? I asked, a soft shift in tone. Almost patient now. The recognition. I swallowed hard. My screen flickered again, and the map opened by itself. Not the normal one. Not the broken one from earlier. This one looked stable. Complete. Too complete. Every road was labeled. Every building present. Every coordinate perfectly aligned. Except one thing. The center of the map. It was marked. I stepped back slightly. No, I said quietly. No, that's not. The voice interrupted me. You are the final active line. My hands started shaking. That's not how dispatch works. I said, we route calls. We don't become them. A pause. Then the voice replied. Then why are you still answering? My headset crackled slightly, but not like interference, like pressure building inside the speaker. Then I heard something that made my chest lock completely. Breathing. Behind me. Slow. Measuring. I didn't turn. I couldn't, because the voice on the call spoke again at the exact same time, and it matched the breathing behind me perfectly. "You're still connected," it said softly. My throat tightened. "No," I whispered. "I hung up earlier. I disconnected everything." A pause. Then, almost gently, "You disconnected the wrong side." The lights in the room flickered. Once. Just once. But in that instant, I saw something reflected in my screen. I wasn't sitting at the console anymore. I was sitting slightly turned. Like I had already looked behind me. Like I had already seen something I couldn't unsee. My voice trembled. "What are you?" The answer came immediately. No hesitation. "We are the call that never finished." My breath stopped, and for the first time, I realized something that made my skin go cold. The call didn't feel like it was coming from the system anymore. The system felt like it was coming from the call. I slowly reached for the disconnect button, but my hand stopped halfway, because the button wasn't there anymore. Just blank space, like it had never existed. The voice on the line softened, almost sympathetic now. "You can stop trying to end it," it said. My eyes narrowed. "Why?" A pause. Then, "Because you already did." My screen flickered one last time, and every log in the system refreshed at once. All dispatch records, all calls, all channels, resetting, rewriting, and at the top of the screen, a single line appeared. "Shift active. No end recorded." The breathing behind me got closer, not moving, just closer, and the voice on the line whispered something almost like a farewell. "You were never the operator." A pause. Then, softer. "You were always a connection." The headset tightened slightly on my ears. Not physically, not mechanically. Something else. Like the call was settling into place. Like it had finally found where it belonged. And in the silence that followed, I understood the worst part. There was still one last incoming call waiting. And it wasn't from outside the system. The line was already open when I looked at it. No ringing, no alert, no tone. Just a live call sitting on my screen like it had been there for hours. Caller ID, unknown. Location, not available. Time connected. Midnight. Then it jumped to 3 minutes and 12 seconds like it had skipped the beginning. I felt that small chill you get when something in the system doesn't behave like it should. Not loud fear, just wrong. I pressed the headset to my ear. Nothing at first. Then breathing. Slow. Controlled. Like someone was standing right behind a door, waiting for me to notice them. 911, what's your emergency? I said automatically. A pause. Then a voice answered. Not panicked. Not crying. Not confused. Just calm. "I think you're almost done with your shift." I blinked once. My eyes flicked the clock on the wall. 2:47 a.m. "How can I help you?" I repeated, slower this time. The voice didn't respond to my question. Instead, it said something else. "You keep checking the clock every few minutes. You're tired. Your coffee went cold 23 minutes ago." My hand froze near the keyboard. I looked at my cup. Cold, exactly like it said. A small detail. Easy coincidence. But my chest tightened anyway. "Sir, this is 911 dispatch. If you have an emergency." "I do." The voice cut in gently, but not the kind you think. A soft crackle moved through the line, like paper being crushed underwater. I typed quickly, "Trace call. System check." No result. No signal path. No tower. Just a blank space where the location should be. That's when I noticed something else. The call timer wasn't counting up normally anymore. It was skipping, jumping forward. Like time inside the call didn't match time outside it. "Where are you calling from?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. A faint pause. Then, "From your end of the night." I leaned back in my chair. The room around me felt suddenly too quiet, too clean. Monitors glowing like they were watching me instead of the other way around. "Look," I said, lower my voice, "if this is some kind of prank." "It's not a prank," the voice said. "You don't get those anymore. Not after what happened at 1:13. My fingers stopped. 1:13 a.m. That was when the earlier incident came in. The one we were told not to log officially. The one about the highway call that shouldn't exist. No one was supposed to know that detail outside the room. My throat went dry. Who is this? I asked again. This time, the voice changed slightly. Not louder, closer. I'm the one who stayed on the line after you thought it ended. A soft click echoed through my headset. Then another sound came through. Background noise. Not static. Something else. Like an office. My office. The same hum of fluorescent lights. The same keyboard clicks. The same distant chair rolling. I sat up straight. What do you mean? I whispered. The voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, I heard it clearly now. Breathing. Not on my end. Behind me. I turned slightly in my chair. Nothing. Just empty desks. Empty screens. My reflection faint in the glass wall. Still, the breathing continued through the headset. And now I had a second layer. Like there were two sources at once. One inside the call. One inside the room. You're not alone right now, the voice said softly. My hand went to the desk drawer. Without thinking. The small flashlight. The backup radio. The things we keep but never use. Security is outside, I said, forcing logic into my voice. You can't be inside the building. A quiet sound, almost like a smile. I didn't say I walked in. My monitor flickered. Just once. A single frame of something appeared. A corridor. Our corridor. But wrong. Longer than it should be. Narrower. The doors too close together. Like the building had stretched itself. Then it was gone. I stood up. Slowly. My chair rolled back with a soft squeak that sounded too loud in the silence. Okay, I said into the headset. Tell me what you want. A pause. Then the voice said something that made my stomach drop. I want you to finish your shift. My grip tightened on the desk edge. That's not how this works. It is tonight, the voice replied. The lights above me flickered. Once, twice, then steadied. But the hum changed. Lower, heavier, like the building had taken a breath and decided not to let it out. The voice continued. You always think the shift ends when you log out, when you take off the headset, when you lock the system. My eyes drifted to the log out button on my screen. It was grayed out, disabled. That had never happened before. But you never really clock out, the voice said. A soft tap came from behind me. I froze, slowly turned. Nothing there. Just the door to the hallway. Closed. But now I noticed something I hadn't before. The handle was slightly turned. Like someone had just let go of it. My heartbeat started to climb. Listen, I said. Try and keep control. I'm disconnecting this call. I moved my hand to the headset button. Don't. The voice said. Simple. Direct. Not threatening. Worse. Certain. You already tried that. My finger stopped just before pressing. What are you talking about? A long silence. Then the voice spoke again, slower this time. You disconnected me 6 minutes ago. My blood went cold. That's impossible. No, it said gently. It's just delayed. My screen flickered again. And this time I saw it clearly. Call log. 1 entry. Active call duration. 17 hours, 44 minutes, and 8 seconds. But I remembered disconnecting it. I remembered it clearly, my hand shaking slightly. The silence in the room felt heavier now, like it had weight, like it could press against my skin. Then the voice said something that made everything tilt. You're going to stand up in about 30 seconds. I didn't respond. You're going to walk to the hallway door. Still silence. You're going to open it because you think someone is out there. My breathing got shallow. And when you do, the voice continued softly. You're going to realize why we never log final calls. My eyes locked on the door. The handle didn't move. But I swear the shadow under it shifted. Just slightly. Like something on the other side adjusted its stance. I whispered, what happens when I open it? A pause. Then, you don't. A long, heavy silence followed. For a moment, nothing happened. No voice, no sound, no movement. Then the system beeped. Once, a new call popped into the queue. Same unknown ID. Same connection time starting at 0. But this time, it was labeled differently. Shift transfer in progress. My chair moved slightly on its own as I stepped back. I didn't accept any transfer, I said. The voice returned, softer now. You didn't have to. The monitors around me flickered in sequence, one by one, like something was moving through them in order, left to right, back of the room to front. The air felt colder, and I realized something that made my skin tighten all over. The office lights weren't flickering randomly anymore. They were pulsing, in rhythm, like breathing. My headset crackled one last time, and the voice said, "You're almost where I was." I swallowed hard. "Where were you?" A soft sound came through. Not laughter, not crying. Something in between. Still on duty? The hallway door creaked, very slightly. Not opening, not closing, just acknowledging movement on the other side. I didn't move. I couldn't. My body felt locked in place like the building itself had decided I was part of it now. Then the voice spoke one last time. Calm, clear, too close. Don't worry. You'll understand after your first call. That doesn't come from outside. The headset went silent, dead silent. No static, no signal, no disconnect tone. Just silence. Then, from my desk speaker, without the headset even being on, a new call began to ring, and the caller ID read, my own extension. I stared at it. My hand didn't move, but the line picked up anyway, and I heard my own breathing on the other end, just slightly delayed, like it was trying to catch up to me.